Hey everybody, welcome to episode 18 of the Reptile Rejects. This week we got on Justin Smith from the Herpetoculture Network and Fulvius Apparel. So yeah, it's haven't seen him in too long. It's only been 2 weeks almost since we recorded Snakes and Stogies with
Yeah.
Justin and Phil.
That's true.
Yeah,
That
that
wasn't
was
that long at all.
last week. That was the last episode we've done as of late.
Although you did the Arachnids.
Yeah, but I mean, as far as
Thursday?
snakes and stogies go,
Yeah.
we were gonna record Monday, but Phil wasn't feeling too great. I, for whatever reason, wasn't feeling too great either. So we ended up just saying, let's punt it. So
How often do you guys record Snake and Stogies? Once a week, once every 2 weeks, or just whenever?
ideally, it's supposed to be once a week, but um, schedule-wise, it's just Phil has things come up, I have things come up, life happens. It's This year in particular has been kind of a weird one on the podcast front. Um, we started Arachnids, and then Jake started doing Flippin' 10 with Sky, and so like that's thrown more into the scheduling mix, and um, it's just overall it's just been kind of an odd year. Um, we haven't been as motivated to really put a lot of effort into guests and like sort of the quality of the shows, I guess, at least for me. Like I don't know. I feel like I've really fallen behind a lot this year, but most of the time it's supposed to be like Snakes and Stogies is supposed to be once a week, and then Thursdays are either THP, Flippin' 10, or Arachnids, or both. Just depends on what's
Yeah.
going on.
Definitely feels like THP's kind of become like just a one-on-one with you and Jake for the most
Mm-hmm.
part, other than the odd show, which is all right. Like it's always nice hearing Jake because it like even the flipping tin he's kind of slowed down on too, which I feel like
Yeah.
there's like an endless amount of guests with that, but also I get Jake not wanting to really record unless there's something to record, even though there's probably always
Mm-hmm.
something to record.
Yeah,
Honestly,
and
people
that's another one with scheduling, because he has Gabe and he has Sky with him, and sometimes Jack Oliver. The more people you have sort of in the mix, the more conflicted schedules become, and it's it is what it is.
yeah, so it's almost like it almost like it'd be words. It's almost like it makes sense to kind of just make it all just THP again, and then, but like people different every like it's kind of like different segments.
Yeah.
Like I guess that's what it is. But like just like this week Phil and you are
Mm-hmm.
available to do it, and you get some guest on, and then next week, Jake and Sky are gonna get this other guy on to talk about Phylodryas or something.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah, and that's
it's
I've kind of thought about something similar like that in the past, especially when Jake was out, because Jake wasn't on THP for I think over a year, and Phil had taken his spot, in the interim, and
that was a pretty good like
kind of
it sucked that Jake wasn't there, but honestly, you and Phil with that were like awesome. Like I really
yeah. Well,
like
it was
that
weird too because
era.
we were still doing Snakes and Stogies, so it was like we were doing Snakes and Stogies twice a week.
Pretty
Um,
much.
but yeah, it was I thought about if I ever sort of take a break because Jake was gone. I've had moments where I'm like I should take a sabbatical from doing it, and then someone else can do my job. But I'm the one who does like setting up the streams, making the graphics, like all the behind the scenes like footwork and stuff. And so like if I stop doing it, like that's not going to get done. And I mean, I'm sure I could show Jake or whoever else the setup and stuff. It's not terribly difficult, but it's for me it's become like a nice 2 hour break in my week from stuff I got to get done and stuff to do, and um, just it's a micro vacation of sorts from work and other stuff I got going on. So.
Yeah, I definitely see that, especially with like because now you started the passion project with Arachnids, which is
Mm-hmm.
kind of what like, your collection's now changing again kind of like how you did that corn snake phase 3 years ago, and you read all those, and you're doing that with Chris and the other guys, and now you're switching to arachnids, which is awesome to see, because I could kind of tell you're always into that, because you always kind of mentioned it. Even with Phil, you're talking about the scorpions and stuff a lot, and now you've kind of morphed that into another podcast, which is neat. Which I think I kind of saw that coming eventually.
It's so. I was thinking about it the other day, and it's kind of funny. Like I was thinking about it, like, what if I did shows, sort of how they've happened previously, the ones that are like specific to stuff like ChondroCast, was a thing, and then over time I just kind of, not that I don't still love chondros and I still have plenty of them, but it just got to the point where I felt like it got really repetitive, and I felt like we were kind of just discussing the same thing just with different people. Like everyone's keeping stuff more or less the same. Finding somebody that was keeping them sort of on the sort of the fringe of what the norm was tough. And so I just kind of felt like it got to a point where it had sort of run its course. And, it's kind of like I look at some of the favorite TV shows I have that had like a very specific, like, okay, we're not going to keep this running for 20 years. Like it was planned for 4 seasons. We're going to do the arc for 4 seasons. And like, that's going to be it. Like Eastbound and Down. I love that show. That's one of my favorites, right? The 4th season was kind of added on at the end, but it's like, there was the start point and the ending point, and they sort of knew what that was, and this is what you're getting in that sort of box of timeline sort of things. So to me, it was like, what if will arachnids still be going 6 years from now? Maybe not. I don't know. Maybe one of those things where once again I come across something else that I just like. I start these shows because I want to talk about this stuff. Like I just want to talk about it. Like that's it. Like that's, if I can't be in the room working with stuff and like rehousing stuff, whatever, like I can at least talk to other people about it that are just as into it as I am. And so it's like, let's record it. So, Corn Stars, like that's not gone. King Snake Chronicles, that was more of a Chris and Harry kind of thing anyways. But Corn Stars, like that's what it was, is like I was super amped on corn snakes, and I still love corn snakes. I still have a lot of them. But it just kind of, you both know over time interests sort of change and evolve, and things come back that, you did at one point, and then you're like, man, I really miss these, like dive back into them, head first. And even though the pool's about 3 feet deep, we're going to do it anyways. It's everything's evolving all the time. And so I kind of at this point look at it as it's just part of the evolution of not only what I'm keeping, but also sort of the network in general. And I kind of fought it for a long time of I don't like, it was a running joke in the friend group of like, oh, Justin's keeping darts. When's the Dart Frog podcast happening? Which did at one point cross my mind, because I still love dart frogs. I don't keep any right now, but I would have 100% started one if there wasn't one that was happening. Which was also sort of the reason I started Arachnids, the reason I started ChondroCast, and King Snake Chronicles, like the hyper focused niche stuff that has like a decent following, but you only get podcast episodes intermittently between all the different shows and networks of like that specific thing. So I was like, well, let's just devote a show to that and that specifically. And the problem is it has to be broad enough to where you have a lot of stuff to talk about, but not so narrow that you get in the ChondroCast situation, which was, okay, this is the same episode I just recorded with somebody else, a month ago. Like with Arachnids and like Corn Stars and King Snake Chronicles, like there's enough stuff in that realm to comfortably be able to cover stuff and not feel like it's repetitive and the same episode on repeat, more or less. So.
Yeah, and you know what the crazy thing is? Even if those episodes keep repeating, people still listen to them. Like how many? I probably has listened to, I don't know, 500 episodes on Chondros, and almost all of them are the same thing, right? It's always the same thing, and yet we still listen to them, right? Everybody.
From people all the time.
I don't know why, but we still do.
I'd even tell people, I'm like, it's the same episode we just had, and they'd be like, yeah, but I'll listen to that no matter who it is.
Yeah, in the off chance,
yeah,
one thing's different.
More like if and it is, I guess it is different from my viewpoint because I'm having that conversation repeatedly. So like I see when it's the same. Other people who may not have listened to the other episodes or just came across it, like to them it's brand new. It's kind of like when you're doing educational events. You're going to answer the same question 50 times about the same snake, which sucks for you, and it's kind of cringeworthy when someone asks and then someone right behind him in line asks the same thing, and it's like, well, I just told him. Like, that person hasn't heard that yet. It's new to them. It's not new to you. And so it's trying to sort of keep that in mind. But yeah, I was like, surely people are going to eventually figure out that this is the same thing, and they're just going to get tired of it. And it's so very predictable in terms of the content. But I got a lot of people saying, like, keep them coming. I don't care if it's the same. Like, they still want to hear it. So
yeah, 100%. Like, it's all about like what you're doing, right? Like, you got to think of what you're doing when you're listening to podcasts. Every time I listen to podcasts, I'm spending 3 hours cleaning, changing bowls, or setting up a perch or doing that kind of shit. And I'm kind of listening to the podcast, but half of it is just going in and out, right? But you're still listening to it, and it keeps you busy and it keeps you there, right? So I love it. And on another note, when you were talking about how you're doing a lot more one-on-one and on your network, and I fucking love that. Like, the thing is, when you listen to a show often enough, you get attached to the hosts, right? And there's points where sometimes you're like, I fucking wish they had no guests and just talked about them, because you know what, in the end you're almost more interested in what's going on with them than the guests. Just like, but it takes a long time to get there, and you guys have been on for so long that people listen often just to hear you guys. They don't want to hear always about all the guests. Like me and Mike, people barely know us. That's why we're always going to have guests for a long time, because people don't care what we're doing that much. In time, maybe they will, but we're not at the level where you are. So, like, people want to know about you.
That's another surprising one, too. Like, me and Jake hadn't done a one-on-one in a while, and I had people messaging me saying, like, when are you guys going to do another one-on-one? Like, I didn't think that people would want those. Like, when we had one-on-ones, a lot of times it was because guest canceled, whatever, something happened. So we're like, okay, well, here's some stuff that I've been thinking about that I jotted down. Like, let's do a one-on-one talking about X, Y, and Z. Or sometimes, a lot of the times, we don't even have any sort of plan in place for what we're going to discuss with those. So a lot of the one-on-ones that we've had in the past, I'm like, there's no way people are going to sit through this entire thing and listen to it. But that's like some of the most popular stuff is the one-on-ones. Like, those are the ones that people are like requesting the most. And to me, it like blows my mind, because it's like, again, it's because we're talking about our collections and stuff, which we've already done at least one time earlier in the week. Like, to me, nothing's changed in my collection from last week, but to the person that's listening to it, that isn't in it, like, it's new information to them. So I don't know. That was one that really surprised me, was people enjoying the one-on-ones and saying the same thing of like, I enjoy the one-on-ones more than the guest shows. Because to me, it's like, I want to hear new information.
Oh yeah,
bring something different.
Yeah, I feel like I like the one-on-ones and that, but I also like there is a point though where sometimes you just like, I wish I went back to like whoever it is, whether it's you or Eric and Owen, right? You're like, I wish they brought on a new guest they're not necessarily even a new guest, but like a guest, just because you start missing it after so many one-on-ones too.
Balance.
Because like with Eric and Owen, they went through that time where they were only doing one-on-ones, which was cool, because like Owen's always got stuff going on, and Eric was still trying to figure out his diamonds, so like that was always cool to listen to. But then you're like, because like I think they're gonna do an Angolan python episode, and then they never even released it because they just used that title for one other one-on-one, and I was like, I want to hear that. I hope it's recorded or something. But I was like, because I don't think anybody's done an Angolan python episode, like just like into the history and some natural history, and then like maybe some other stuff that we may know, like, or certain people may like know some of the lines and that. But you just want to hear about it, right? Just like hearing the Conjure stuff, you want to hear the same stuff, but then sometimes sometimes I'm like, oh yeah, there isn't something about that, like the Sambos, right? Like there's no real
right.
That episode with Rob is like probably the best, and then there's maybe one Scott Miller one but like it'd be cool to get other people to interview them
Mm-hmm.
and see what else they can pull out of there, and maybe talk to guys like Jeff Murray, or I'm sure there's some guys who have been breeding some of those oddball sand boas for a lot longer, as well as just some of the morph Kenyans. Like there's not even any Kenyans are so popular, yet there's no real
Right.
true following.
There's Warren's book, and that's kind of the extent of like a solely focused information in like a singular piece of solid information covering that stuff. And that that book's, I think, 10 years old at this point. Still very much relevant and stuff, but yeah, that's when I come across, those are the kind of episodes that I really gun for. Like when you're talking about the Angolans, is like those species that are kept in decent amount of collections, but they're not so popular. They're still kind of fringe, and there's still a lot of people that probably have seen them but don't really know a whole lot about them. So like that episode with Rob, 100%. I just wanted to talk to Rob about Conicus, so I was like, let's record it, because I don't know of any other podcasts that have solely focused on rough-scaled sand boas. Like it hasn't been a thing, and like I want to do another one because I feel like we still didn't even get into a lot of the sort of the meat and potatoes of that. But same thing with Angolans. Something Phil and I have kind of started to do periodically with snakes and stogies is like maybe not necessarily focus on a singular species, but focus on a genus and pull them up an INAT and sort of, give it sort of just a rundown of like, here's what people are finding, here's the terrain, here's the natural history. Like we'll pull up the weather, see observations and things like that. If it's something venomous, typically I'll look up some bite reports and stuff too. And those are kind of fun and something a little different. And we need to do sort of more of those, but like stuff like Angolans, I agree. Like I would keep Angolans if I wasn't destitute.
Yeah, but you know what the issue is with the Angolans? Like many other species, it's that most people that have Angolans have 2, 3, 4, 5, but it's only like a side project in their collection. Like most people you talk to, think of everybody you know that has Angolans. Nobody's like, I have a collection that is 75% Angolans and I keep bloods and chondros on the side, right? It's always...
There is one guy. There's that, it's the Angolan Python Project. I think he's in the Netherlands or in Germany. So, but he has like only Angolans, and it's actually kind of cool.
That sounds
other people's collections too.
Like that sounds really cool.
Kind of neat. Yeah.
But you get what I mean, right? There's certain of those species that people love, but they're never going to have a collection just of Angolans. And again, you've named the one person. I didn't even know there was one, but like you look at all the Morelia, the Antaresia, you look at many of the pythons. There's blood pythons collections. There's scrub collections. There's condor collections. There's carpet collections. There's name the species. There's retic collections, right? Angolans, for some reason, not many of them. It's everybody's side project, just on the side. Yeah. So
but you know what? When I do that episode, the first person I'm going to hunt down is that one guy.
Fucking right. Like that would be really interesting because if you were to ask me to do, I've bred Angolans a few times, but I'd be like, yeah, just do it like a carpet python. Like it works perfect. That's what I did. But I didn't really study Angolans specifically. I just know how pythons work and I did it, right? So if you're not keeping it as that specific target species, I feel like you don't have as much to bring. I don't know. It's just my thought.
I'm a big proponent of natural history should be more of your care sheet than a care sheet should be your care sheet. Like I know the sort of the casual keeper that maybe has a 1 or 2 animal household. Like I'm not really expecting them to be like, I'm going to go on Google Scholar and I'm going to look up this animal and see what I can find. But like people that are more heavily into it, that especially are into a singular species or particular species, 100%, like learn every bit about the natural history that you can, because you can learn so much more from that than chondros are a prime example. Like for the last 30 plus years, everyone was like, keep them hot, keep them wet, feed them a lot, and it's like, okay, it worked, but it wasn't until we got Julander and Philip's book that outlined sort of the natural history of them and said, like, here's what's actually happening, that it completely changed the way that a lot of people were doing green trees after that, and it's come to, I think, open a lot of people up to also realizing that some species just aren't as difficult as we've come to make them be on like a almost a mythical level of misinformation. So I really like doing the INAT episodes where we go in and we look at the, what elevation are they at? Where are they being found? Like, look at stuff in the background and see if there's anything that stands out. Weather patterns, seasonality, and things like that. I think you can learn so much more from even a sort of a surface level search of that information, not even having to necessarily dive super deep. You can learn a ton about the species you're keeping, even if it's something simple like corn snakes. There's a lot of information to be learned.
Yeah, I agree. That's why I really like those episodes. Like sometimes you guys don't do an episode. I'm like, they could just you could have like a wheel behind you that you just spin and we're like, okay, we're gonna do Eastern Europe or this Patagonia or Central South America and do like Paraguay or something, right? Just a random region, and you could even just look at what reptile species are there, and then maybe you're like, oh well, that's neat. Let's go on a tangent on these. Let's look at Bothrops.
That was the catalyst for the Honduran episode where we were like, let's find a common species in the hobby that we see in like PetSmarts and Petcos and stuff. And I mean, surely again, that's not really going to be our audience necessarily. Not that people won't be able to find it or anything like that, but like, let's see how these species that we see everywhere for super cheap, that are often a first time animal for a lot of people, like what are they really doing? Like, what are they really living in? What are we looking at in reality? And hoping that maybe some of those people will find that information and be like, okay, so I can have a baby Honduran. I don't have to keep it in a 40-gallon aquarium where I'll never see it. And just sort of realizing the reality of like, they don't need 6 hides in a cage. Like, they don't need all this stuff. They just need a couple of things to be really locked in and good, and they'll be content. So I really like doing that. I want to do more. I think we did leopard geckos at one point. We were in like the Middle East looking at INAT observations of those. There's a handful of species and stuff I think we have in mind, and I try to jot them down when I can. But we also are fully open to suggestions. If anybody has like a certain species or even just part of the world, they're like, do an INAT episode on X, Y, and Z. Like, we'll do it. Like, we're always down for ideas and stuff. Because me and Phil are terrible about planning when it comes to our weekly schedules and things like that. It's really bad.
Well, I think sometimes Phil just needs to follow what he's really into too. Like, let's look at nausea this week, kind of thing. Like, you could just go into that, and that like, obviously you guys have done that too, but you never know. You could always choose a different region.
Sri Lanka and stuff. And I think a part of that too is also like helping people realize like there's a lot of really cool stuff out there that we just don't have in the hobby, be it up there or down here. Like, there's stuff that we just don't have that even some of Europe doesn't even have. And it's like there's a whole we think we did an episode, that India episode, we talked about boiga, which I've kept for a while, and I don't currently, but like all the coolest boiga aren't in the hobby because they're all Indian and like uber protected and things like that. But there's like it's not just mangrove snakes. It's not just the green cats. There's a whole wide world of really, really cool looking cat snakes out there that a lot of people just don't know exist because you never see pictures of them. It's never really discussed. So those INAT episodes, I hope to kind of show people really cool stuff that maybe they don't know exists.
Oh yeah. I think, was it Ashley brought in one of those really weird boiga species? Like, I'm not sure if it was like the deserty one. Maybe not desert.
She's brought in a couple really, really niche niche species with those, which is cool. It's nice to see.
Yeah, I think with like some stuff like that Honduran one with the Hondurans and that, like, I would say, well, like, if you were to put a baby Honduran in a 40-gallon, you'd probably need to put a shitload of hides in there to make it feel, but appropriate hides, not just big ass hides, right? But that's with anything, right? Like, like, I've seen plenty of people keep ball pythons and tanks and bigger stuff, and they do perfectly fine, kind of thing. But you just have to size it appropriately, right? Like, and that's where beginners too are like, I think people sometimes breeders scare people away almost. Like, oh no, you got to keep it in a bin and you got to do this. When honestly, like we should be trying to sell people like, do this for now, or this is how you want to get it started. But once it locks in, you should do this. And hey, if you can give your Honduran or ball python a 6 foot by 2 foot by 2 foot cage, or even something bigger, it's not necessarily going to use it all, but it depends how you set it up too, right? Like you could like your rhinos, you could probably give your rhinos a 6 foot cage and put like a bunch of them together,
Oh yeah.
as long as it's not multiple males, but like and they'll use it, right? Like it's cool seeing how stuff like actually uses all the spaces, and then you could maybe give multiple basking spots or something, and multiple hides and some shelves and lots of branches. So yeah,
that's my biggest complaint with sort of the current age of information we're in. Like, I feel so bad for newer people coming into the hobby, because it's like you're gonna walk in and you're gonna get pointed in like 20 different directions by 20 different people as far as what to do, and you're not gonna know which one to go with. And then the ones that you don't go with are gonna just roast you for not doing it. You know, it's really rough. And where was I going with that? Had a whole train of thought.
I feel like
It's
I'll go for it, man.
just like you go in the I don't know about up there, but like the corn snake groups here in the States, the amount of times I see somebody saying, I have a baby corn, what should I put it in? And the amount of responses saying a 40-gallon for a baby corn is unbelievable. And it's like, can we not look at this from a standpoint of reality, just briefly? Like, you're putting, you know,
Should be 100-gallon, right?
Like, where's this information coming from? Where's like what is going on? I feel really, really bad. And I also am a firm believer that it's like, do what the recipe calls for. Like, yes, rhinos will use every bit of space that you give them. They're going to be out and about. They're going to climb. They're going to love it. They're going to appreciate a 6-foot cage. A baby,
but don't throw a baby in there.
Baby
Don't throw a
corn's not
newborn
gonna
baby
do
in
it
there.
the same way. Like, I'm not going to keep a blood python the same way I'm going to keep a rhino. It's two completely different recipes. And even then, the recipe's going to change depending on where you're at. Like, I think we've talked about it with Doc Wyman in the past. Like, he's big into baking and stuff. How he would bake a cake versus how I would bake a cake, being that we're not so much anymore. He's northeast of me now, but like when he was more out west, it's different parameters for baking. Like, elevations matter for that kind of stuff. Like, it's not so cut and dry, and that's what kills me right now. Is it's like, if you're not doing it this exact way, it is wrong. And it's like, it's not true. And like, if it's not working and you're noticing you're having issues, change it up. Try new stuff. If something doesn't seem to be jiving, the snake still seems stressed or the animal still seems stressed, change it over to something else, see if you get a different result. It's just, everything's very like, you cannot step outside of this box for what you need to do to be successful. And it kills me. It's not the case.
I think it's tough though for new persons, because you're coming in and there's so many people doing it certain ways, right? But if I had to give advice, I'd say find somebody somewhat in the same region as you. Find somebody you can trust, or that seems knowledgeable, that everybody would recommend, and just stick with their opinions, right? And just try to do it their way, because like you're saying, right? Like, I can't breed the same way that somebody breeds in Texas. We just don't have the same weather, the same place, nothing. Yeah. What works for me might mean complete shit for somebody in Texas, for example, because we're two opposite ends. He's got no winter. You know, you compare everything. Everything's so different, right? And it's just about learning and then, like you're saying, man, figure out what works for you and how your room works. And man, like, I don't know, stop. My opinion is stop changing shit. Even if you don't do it perfectly, if you don't do it perfectly the same way every year after a couple of years, man, animals cycle. Animal goes through their changes automatically. They will eventually breed. Sometimes if you change it every year, you're never going to get there. But that's my opinion anyway.
I agree. It makes sense. I think, yeah, people are very quick to write off one particular aspect as the reason something didn't happen. without really fully going through multiple seasons to verify that is actually what the problem was. Again, it could have just been a bad year. The male could have just, male was kept too warm, so his fertility just wasn't what it has been in previous years. Like, just there's all kinds of just so many variables, and working it from, the top down or the bottom up. You don't know until you can firmly say, I haven't changed anything over the course of 3 years and I'm getting the same result.
Yeah, but then even at that point, if you keep it the same after 3 years, they might still go eventually, kind of thing, right? Like if you kept it the same, as long as it's not like way off, like eventually they might get on that schedule too, and maybe it's not a full perfect clutch, but maybe you get something after a while.
Mm-hmm.
But that consistency is probably a factor with lots of stuff. But then you get species too where you could fucking change it every year a little bit, and they fucking go every year.
Yeah,
There's not really a difference either, right?
Yeah,
they might cycle at a different time. They might just cycle later and later or something.
Mm-hmm.
But they kind of keep going. So
that's definitely not something to be said for that consistency too, because like breeding rhinos the last 2 years in a row, and then not breeding them this year because I changed something in my room because I had spiders and wanted to keep them a little warmer. So I had a heater on in the room over the winter, and it kept my room warmer than it typically is. And I got no action from 3 of my male rhinos. Like they kind of tried, but it was very half-assed. And then the females didn't seem all that receptive either. Like, and the only thing that's changed in that room was adding that oil-filled heater and having that running when it was colder. And I mean, we got snow here early this year, it's like a once in a decade event. That's a big deal. And I mean, we're talking like 4 inches, which is a lot for us. That's
a lot for here too. That's a lot for Vancouver. You get 4 inches of snow.
So
that's nothing here.
A little warmer. Yeah. But like that's the only thing I can think of that would cause an issue with my season, is because that was the only thing that had changed. Because every other year, I let the room naturally cool down to whatever it is, it's going to be. Typically in the winters, it drops into, I don't know what it is in non-American, but like the 60s, mid 60s on the cooler nights.
Yeah, that's like 16, 17 degrees. That's like our summer lows kind of thing at night.
Right. Yeah. So that's the only thing I can think of, because that's the only thing that changed. But this year I'm going to cool them down for sure, sort of definitely set them aside out of the room, and then give them a proper cool down. Because my thinking was like, it'll get cooler still. It just won't be as cool as it normally is, and it'll be enough of a dip for them to cycle and go. And that wasn't the case. So
just not that 30-degree porphyraceous
right.
temperature where they're fucking
they can
hard rubber on the table.
Yeah, they can handle really cold temperatures. I just we don't really get them cold enough to even worry about it. Because even if I'm keeping stuff like brumating stuff in the garage, like there's still probably a solid 10-degree difference between temperature in the garage and temperature outside. So I think the amount of cold, they don't have to get crazy low for you to get success in terms of the cycling with them. And I found with like most snakes actually, obviously you're going to have exceptions, but like everyone told me when I had the Diones, like you got to get them really cold. Everything I read, like you got to get them really cold, like into the 40s, and you have to keep them there for a while. Otherwise you're not going to get anything to happen. And like, I cooled those things like I did the corn snakes, where 3 months, no food, again, temperatures like maybe dipping into the mid 50s at the coldest, every now and then a cold snap where maybe it's in the 40s. And I woke them up with the corn snakes, fed them up with the corn snakes, and they locked within 5 minutes of me putting them together. So it's like, where's this coming from? Is this like another case of it happened one time, like someone had this experience of I didn't get any action until I really cooled them, but it was never really like verified. And so then it kind of just became the norm of like, well, you can't breed Diones unless you get them really cold. And it's like, if we trace that information back, is it literally going back to like one person that happened to have a pair and they just couldn't get it to work because in their interpretation, they didn't get them. They had to be cold. And so it's like, where's this coming from? Is this like another case of it happened one time, like someone had this experience of I didn't get any action until I really cooled them, but it was never really like verified. And so then it kind of just became the norm of like, well, you can't breed Diones unless you get them really cold. And it's like, if we trace that information back, is it literally going back to like one person that happened to have a pair and they just couldn't get it to work because in their interpretation, they didn't get them. They had to be cold. because like
Or it's
the male of that was a Siberian too, so like that's Arctic Circle, you know. And it's like, so like in theory, yeah, on paper he should have been really cold, but he didn't get really cold, and he did the job great. Like fertility were no issues. Same with, you know, the rhinos and the bears. Like I always thought going into rhinos that they also had to be dropped down pretty chilly. First year I bred them, I did the same thing I did to the bears. I didn't even pull them. They were in the 60s at night, and then, you know, mid higher 70s during the day when it warmed up, because we also have the heat on, and I paired them up and they bred right away. So I don't know. But again, what I do may not work for Dom, may not work for you, may not work for Phil down in South Florida. You know, it just, in my experience, I didn't have that hard of a time with a lot of those species that
I think
supposedly have to get very cold.
I think the Diones, that might also be people going with the natural history, right? Because you're like, oh, well, it gets negative 20 degrees there kind of thing. So you're like, oh, you got to get it cold. But like my friend, actually Jay, she bred her Beijings a second time. And this time, I think she maybe cooled them down in the room, maybe, if that. But her suite that she lives in is pretty warm. And the female laid eggs, and actually I think the female hid some of the eggs because she found a couple babies throughout the room after she pulled the eggs, because I guess it had laid the eggs in the flower pot or whatever, the pothos pot she had in there, which is kind of funny.
Yeah, those were interesting to breed because like they're gravid, and I think because they, especially your more semi, you know, Arctic Circle varieties, like you breed them and their gestation period is longer, but then they drop those eggs and they hatch after like 3 or 4 weeks. So I think there's kind of this opposite effect where the eggs stay in mom longer to sort of like incubate, and then when she lays them, they're already end of term kind of thing. And it's pretty weird to like pull eggs and then go and look a month later and there's babies popping out, and it's like, it's so strange. But
oh yeah, they're neat. Actually, she sent them down with one of our buddies for Tinley, and I think Christian picked up a pair. And then also I think Chris Chafin also has a pair of offspring from her as well.
I think I saw his.
Yeah, no, the Beijings are so nice. Like, they're just awesome. And then Jay's holdbacks from 2 or 3 years ago that are almost ready to breed, like, they're stellar too. Like the pinks and the yellows coming through, they're just awesome.
That's a species I'm really surprised hasn't taken off a little more, because I mean they're perfect.
Bulletproof.
Like, they're small, they're colorful. They come in, if there's a color scheme you want, they probably have it. Yeah, like bulletproof. They can handle cold temperatures. They can handle hot temperatures. They don't care. They always eat. Like, for the most part, they're pretty chill. My male was pretty feisty, but you know, my females and stuff like that, like I could pull them out without any issues as long as there wasn't food in the room. But as I was keeping those, I was like, why aren't more people, like, these are awesome. It's like a corn snake, but a little cooler, because like literally and figuratively, like, it's just interesting. You know, that range of that species just spans like over the entire, you know, Eurasian continent, and it's like they all look different as you move across the range and stuff, and it's just surprising that they didn't get more traction. And maybe they will, who knows.
So for all the non-color bred people, what the fuck are you guys talking about? Like, what species are you guys talking about? All I hear is Beijing. Like, you guys want to let me know what species you're talking about? Because I'll be honest with you, I have no idea. I'm trying to follow.
Diones.
Okay.
Diones rat snakes from China. They're they're Beijing locality.
You guys gotta say a couple more words. Like, all you've been talking about is Beijing, and I'm like, hey, that's cool. It's obviously the country, but like, you got to give me a little bit more. All right, I'm not sure if I missed it. Did you guys say it, or did you just say Beijing's? Because like,
I think we just said Diones.
Okay, well,
yeah, I think we said Diones, but that's not everybody knows. That's what I mean. That's what we mean, though. They're so underrated that nobody knows about them, even though they're so freaking cool.
For the people that don't know a lot about those, like me, You got to be a little bit more specific. All right, keep going. I'm going to try to follow.
No worries.
I'm trying to think why my keyboard is typing without me typing. I don't.
Gotta love that.
It's also weird, Michael, when you were replying on the group chat, you're replying as me. Did you notice that? Like if you look on
Really?
when you're replying, it's written Dominic instead of Reptile Reject, which is really weird because it's like when you replied to Lisa,
Well, for me it shows Michael, but it also only shows on Riverside.
really?
But then the first reply I did it shows on Riverside and YouTube. So I don't know how it's working.
Yeah, I don't get it.
But
Like,
yes, Lisa, white lips are another side project species like Angolans. I didn't think about that, but that is very true.
have
I don't see any people with full white lip collections.
have you reached out to Lisa yet? She'd be a great guest. We really need to bring her on. I don't know if you've reached out or not.
I think we can line her up for.
Okay, Lisa, if you're still listening, we're going to reach out to you.
Yeah, we need some. We need some more Python people.
Python is definitely and females, and actually Ashley. I don't know if you're close with Ashley. She'd be a great guest too because she does some much like pretty cool importing, exporting. She does a lot more weird stuff out there.
Oh, for sure, and she's bred and kept some pretty neat stuff. Like she with the a bunch of stuff that we have to explain, but like it's like machete snakes, and
really
like she kept Boaga.
The
Chinese false water cobra things, those pseudo xenodon or something like that. And then some other stuff too that's just cool. Like I think she keeps a Gurnia now and that, and I think she just moved to a different province, so she's able to maybe keep some more stuff and maybe do a bit more now, kind of thing. So that's super neat.
Yeah, I can't imagine the process the work that goes into making those things happen, especially with as much as like international trade and stuff has sort of gotten a little squirrelier the last year or so. It's God bless her for it because it sounds expensive and it sounds like a lot of headaches. So
yeah, for sure. And I don't think she makes too much off the top, kind of thing. Like especially like you see some importers are bringing in massive amounts of numbers, and she's not, and she's actually like she make sure they're all pretty good. Like obviously like some stuff slips through the cracks, but like honestly like that happens with anything. So like
it's definitely
like,
gonna be
and you're like it's still Indonesia and that, right? Like the recent Indo order, like most of that stuff looked pretty darn good. And like Chris Applin, as I think everybody's getting accustomed to what he's doing. It's like it's Indo, like the stuff's some of it's outside, and obviously there's probably certain species are still kind of wild collected and brought in, while others are captive bred in the facility kind of thing, or they're captive bred by another facility and brought over, and you can't control everything still. Like there's ticks in the wild everywhere. There's ticks in the wild and in South Carolina, right? Like it is what it is.
All over the place. It's if you're buying wild caught stuff, I feel like there's kind of a barring like long-term captive stuff, obviously, but your sort of standard wild caught things, I expect it to not be 100%, either visually or physically, internally or externally. But it's like that's what you're paying for. Like that's what you're getting. Like I'm not paying top dollar for an imported chondra.
Although some of that stuff was pretty top dollar on that list.
Yeah.
I saw the list, but it had
the amount of work put in. But
you also didn't see everything on that list available ever, kind of thing. Like there was Varanus coli and torch monitors. Cody Joe was able to finally get, which is pretty neat. They had the Borneo earless on that list, and it looks like somebody got a few of them, which is cool to see. Because I was like,
awesome.
do I sell my whole collection and get some of those Borneo earless monitors and have some scaly salamanders, basically? That would be cool to do one day.
Don't those have legs though?
Yeah, they do. They also only eat like earthworms, which is freaking neat. You literally keep them like a salamander and like a half aquatic, half land setup, and they're like a foot long. Like they're just freaking cool.
That's one that I see them all the time. I honestly know nothing about them. Like,
Yeah.
same with the dragon snakes. Like, see them on lists and see them for sale all the time. Couldn't tell you a damn thing about them other than that they're Asian. Like,
Yeah. The dragon snakes are hard to keep though, right? Like, you got to feed them frogs and frog tadpoles
kind
and
of
stuff.
what I've gathered in passing and reading about them. People posting in groups and stuff is they die really well. I don't. We thought the same thing with a lot of other stuff over time, but I don't know. That does seem like one where I'm like, why do these get brought in and people keep buying them if they're just not doing well in captivity?
Yeah.
You just need to find a person or two that are willing to put in the time and actually figure them out. And as soon as they're figured out, they turn out to be like amazing species. Like you look at tons of the species everybody struggled with that are, man, you even take ball pythons. Ball pythons were tough initially. People couldn't breed them. And like, look at it now. A 3-year-old
Right.
can breed them in their basement, right? Or in their bedroom. So I think any of those species would be the same. Like I even look at what was available in the 90s when we were there. Like I remember you're talking about like aquatic setups. Fuck, I had fire belly salamanders as like a teenager, and I loved it. Like because you could have like the water and the land and all that, and it was the coolest thing. Did they thrive for me? Probably no, they didn't, because I was probably picking it up all the time and be like, "Look how cool it is," and then I'd wash my hands, and then I'd pick it up again and make it absorb the alcohol off my fingers, thinking this was great. But I mean, like, I don't know. I just think all those difficult species can become the norm. We just have to have the people who are willing to put the time into it and are willing to put money and I guess lose a lot of animals to figure them out.
Well, then it's a question
Yeah.
of like, are they actually difficult, or
No,
do they not just fit into the feed them mice, keep them, you know, basally as we do a lot of other stuff, and like they just don't do well like that. It's
uh,
like, well, if they're frog eaters specifically, and they're a specialist naturally, like, yeah, they're gonna do terrible, because it's like if you're trying to feed them mice and they're not built to handle mice and fur and things like that, like we're fighting, you're going against the grain.
Yeah. That's what it sounded like because you brought Matt on, and I think it was either your guys' show or the NPR show from 2019 where they really hit on those dragon snakes and that, and it sounded like Matt also like went through a lot of them and tried with them, and they still just didn't do well. And
Yeah, and I
he's
feel like
obviously like,
if Matt puts effort into something like that and just says this ain't it, like, it's probably not it for like 97% of people. If he's willing to sink the time and money and effort into it, like, and just say like, tried, didn't work, like that says a lot. I don't, at least to me. I don't.
oh, for sure.
Well,
We definitely don't need to keep everything either, right? Like there's obviously there's a lot of cool species, and I know the three of us like keeping stuff that's not like necessarily always the norm,
mm-hmm.
but we definitely don't have to keep everything either, right? So it's
Yeah, and
probably for the
I
best.
firmly believe that there's just some species that just aren't. They're not gonna be a captive species. They're just not gonna do well. Um,
Yeah,
there's stuff that,
at
like, yeah,
least.
you can make it work. Like, in my mind, like the vine snakes, the Tula stuff, like, yeah, you can get feeder anoles and feeder geckos and stuff and make it work that way, but it's like it just feels like it's always gonna be a struggle. Like it's never gonna be not stressful, if that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. And like Lisa brings up sunbeams, those are another one. Like I know Cody Joe's been working with a group for a long time, probably like 10
Mm-hmm.
years now. He's had different groups of sunbeams trying to breed them, and I don't know if anybody's really bred sunbeams other than maybe getting in a gravid adult. Because I'm not even sure if I wonder if, because to me they almost seem more like a python, so I wonder if they have more like a live baby or an egg or like one of those half egg
Mm-hmm.
things. But yeah, but then somebody, I swear, I thought I saw an albino, well, one of the last couple years floating around somewhere, like an albino sunbeam or something weird like that. Like I think they seem like one of those ones that you can bring in and keep, but they don't seem to want to breed. Oh yeah, I also saw one that was like, I swear I just saw a picture of one that was like 6 feet long or something. Somebody in Indo.
It's surprisingly big.
like it was like a 6 foot long one. So maybe it's more like the Loxocemus where no, they just got to be like 10, 15 years
Right.
old before they breed the first time, and they got to be like 4 or 5 feet, and they still only have 3 babies or something, right? Like
Yeah.
those Loxocemus are neat.
Trying to think, sort of like, okay, a good example, the hairy bush vipers. So Atheris, Hispida. There's Hispida, and then there was Hirsuta. I don't think Hirsuda's a thing anymore, but Hispida used to get imported a lot, and they're like slug and frog eaters, and they got imported in big numbers, and they just never did well for pretty much everybody. And it's one of those things where it's again like, why do we keep trying this if we know that it's just going to end with the animal rolling? Which to me, it's a real bummer when something gets plucked from the wild like that, shipped across the world, gets put in a a box or whatever whatever the setup is, just for it to struggle bust for 3 months and roll. You know, that's it. Just how many times do we have to try it to realize it's just not going to work?
Because Phil kept one of those for like 6 months, right? But he
Yeah,
worked at Strictly or wherever it was, and
yeah.
he was feeding tree frogs weekly, kind of thing, right?
And again, like if you have the desire and you want to put in the effort to try and make it work, like go for it. But it's like, man, it just to have something that you're always worried about, like, am I gonna walk in the room today and is it gonna be dead? Like, okay, it's winter in South Carolina. Like, I don't see frogs in winter. If I'm keeping one of those specialized feeders that requires frogs, and I'm not breeding dart frogs, that kind of puts me in a weird spot. Kind of sucks.
Yeah.
Like, it's not a snake that brumates, so it's not like I can be like, okay, I can just take it off food for 3 months and we're good. Like, you got to keep a steady supply of that kind of stuff. There's just some species, and it's not a very long list, but there's just some that I'm just convinced are just not meant to be in captivity.
Oh yeah,
Not
viper
like
boas
not from the
as
ethical
well.
standpoint or anything like that
Yeah.
of like we shouldn't be keeping them, but like just from the standpoint of like it doesn't work.
Yeah. Well, that is ethical, and I don't know. It's not the worst thing to think about that stuff
I mean,
either.
ethical in terms of like people keeping like tigers in zoos and that whole
That's
thing. It's
yeah.
like, that's different. Like,
Well, you can keep
Yeah,
stuff like that properly, but do people do it? No.
yeah, but if you look at
Do people do it
species,
properly?
take a great white shark. There's a reason it's not in captivity, right? It
perfect
never ever survives.
whale sharks.
Yeah, it
No,
just doesn't work, right? So, like, is it ethical to buy a baby and put it in a tank and make it survive 3 months and then it dies? In my opinion, no. Some animals, some reptiles, you could say is the same thing, but for some reason, man, most reptiles are so resilient. It is insane how good they can survive in the worst environment, in the worst husbandry. Like, let's be honest, these animals are, well, I wouldn't say bulletproof, but a lot of them they can be in the worst husbandry possible and live 2, 3, 4 years, right? Which is not okay, but it can compared to maybe different animals. Like, what's the longest great white shark that ever survived in captivity? 6 months, I think, something ridiculous like that. So most of the reptiles, even improperly kept, will live way longer than 6 months. So going back to
that's
this,
a perfect example though
yeah,
with the great whites. That's
I don't know.
exactly what I'm talking
I like sharks, but it has nothing to do with reptiles.
about. No, that's the example I was looking for because it's like again, how many times has it been tried, and finally people are like, it just doesn't work.
Been tried so many times, right?
Yeah,
Just by curiosity, sunbeam snakes. I was looking them up. Aren't they very similar to like burrowing pythons, which are not pythons? But is that what you guys were talking about earlier? Because I'm like looking at them, they seem to have like somewhat of a resemblance there.
that's what Mike kind of compared them to.
Yeah.
In terms of like maybe that's the reason we're not being successful is because they just have to be older and larger than what we're giving a shot at.
Yeah. The so what is it? The Loxocemus or the what's their other name? They're the
I don't even remember what the common name is. Like the new, I think it's New World.
New World Python.
Because isn't it like
boa. They're in the boa thing, but they have like a weird half egg thing too.
But they're a Mexican species, right?
Yeah. Mexican burrowing python.
There you go.
But they're kind of like a sand boa, rubber boa, kind of clade. However,
Like
they work into
platypus
that. Yeah, like how Calabar burrowing pythons are more of a. I think they're a boa, not a python. Well, but that's also. I think I remember somebody talking about
they
how
lay eggs.
I think it was Nick talk. Yeah, they lay eggs, but Nick or somebody mentioned that sand boas aren't even really boas. Like they're their own thing
Yeah, they're not
basically.
true boas.
Yeah. So and I believe Calibars are kind of in that too because they're not. I believe scientists always keep going back and forth. But at this point, I would say they're probably more of a. They're not really a python because they have those weird, not fully formed egg things as well. I think, kind of.
So looking at Google, it says Loxoscemus is a genus of snake with the sole species being Loxoscemus bicolor, commonly known as the Mexican burrowing python.
Yep.
Only member of the monotypic family Loxoscimidae, and it's found in Mexico, Central America. So I don't know. I can keep reading, but you get the idea.
No, they're super neat. When we talked about Bill, I'm pretty sure he has a pair. He's like, I hope I'm still alive when those things finally breed for me. Because they're neat. I remember that Stan Grumback episode back in 2019 on NPR with Matt,
Mm-hmm.
and he talked about breeding those and how he's had some of his animals are like 40, and they breed for him. So yeah, I got them from the Houston Zoo in the early '90s, and they finally bred after 15 years. They're like huge. They only have like 4 babies. They're super neat. Yeah. It's all that weird stuff though,
All
right?
by design, man. There's nothing in nature that's a coincidence.
Yeah. I always go through like weird stages. Like I'm sure you do, Smitty, too. We were like, I could breed this and maybe actually make more than just making the feeder bill back, and then you're like, never mind. My mind goes in too many different directions. I can never really stick with certain projects for too long if I don't actually really enjoy them either. Like I think
Yeah,
you might have gone through that with a corns kind of thing,
it's
and I know
tough.
I go through that with stuff too.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't like. I never like. I've said it on some of our shows. Like, if you're breeding stuff, like, yeah, it shouldn't be about money, but it also kind of has to be a little bit about money because there is a cost to all this. You know, like it costs to feed, it costs to house, it costs to upgrade, it costs all these things. And when, as cyclical as the hobby is, you know, it's like selling corn snakes, in my opinion, like outside of wholesaling. You know, if I was setting up Morph Market and selling corns individually, like selling corns is way more difficult than selling rhinos. And it just boils down to like how many people are also breeding and selling corns at that given time. Because rhinos they've had a following, but it's never been a big following, and the supply has never been able to keep up with the demand. I think that's changing currently. But it's definitely like after the last couple seasons of mine with corns and stuff, like had me really, really, really double putting some more thought into should I pair and do more corns or not pursue certain projects, because I know that it's a lot of mouths to feed. It's a lot of stuff I gotta get sold. A lot of stuff like, you know, the things that you tell yourself you should think about before breeding
Yeah.
stuff, but for some reason you just like, nah, it'll be good. It's fine. It'll be fine. I've made that mistake a couple times with corns where I'm like, it'll be a cool pairing. I don't know what's gonna come of it, but I'm curious, so let's breed it.
I think you need.
It's like, wait,
Yeah.
I have so many babies.
You need that balance between like the animals you breed as a passion project that you'll never make a penny on, or that you spend way too much money on and you don't think they'll ever successfully breed, and the animals that pay for everything, right? Like I've got the species that breed every year that I think are cool, but you know, I breed, they pay for my feeder bills, and they pay for everything that I have to do for the collection. And then you've got your other animals that you paid a lot of money for that you're not sure you'll ever be successful, but you don't give a shit. You know what I mean? Like they're the projects that really mean a lot for you. And I think having that balance, having animals that pay the bills, man, it's not a bad thing. There's nothing wrong with saying that you're breeding a lot of these because they pay all my bills. They pay my thermostats. They pay the cages. They pay my upgrades for everything else. Like if I had to name you what that species is with me, it's jungles, man. Jungles pay the bills for everything. They pay the feeder bill, they pay the cages, they pay my new herp stats, they pay for the new perches, the new 3D prints that I got to do every year. They pay for everything, and then my hobby is free. So, and there's nothing wrong with that. I still like jungles. Do I need as many as I have? Fuck no. But they pay for my entire hobby could be paid just with them every year, and there's nothing wrong with saying that, man. Like
Not at all.
if I name you my roughies, they've just cost me money. If I name you my diamonds, they've only cost me money. If I can keep going, like my pygmy pythons have only cost me money, and I've never sold a young yet, and they only cost me time, money, and everything, and I've never made a penny off of them because I suck at raising them, but I love them. So, why do you do it? Like, you've got your projects, and then you've got the ones that pay the bill. I think there's nothing wrong with knowing that.
Not at all.
So
I think if you're coming at it from a standpoint of, and I mean, fortunately, at least in my opinion, we don't really see this that often. At least if people do it, they're not open about it. But like, if they were like, yeah, I hate jungles, I really don't care about these things, but they pay bills, so I'm just gonna keep cranking them out. Like, I hate them, they're terrible, but people buy them, so I'm just gonna keep breeding.
It's kind of hard to hate a snake that's yellow and black.
Right. I just I think it really, and I had to learn this lesson with cresteds too, man. Where it was like, when I was breeding cresteds, I was like, I'm only gonna pair 2 females, because in your head you're like, okay, 2 eggs a month for the next 8 months, 12 months, whatever, no big deal. But then when you start looking at some of those pairings, you're like, I should pair that female too, and that one, and that one, and that one, and then all of a sudden you're just, it's babies everywhere. And you told yourself, I should have been more conservative with it. And you the only way you learn that lesson is by actually doing it. I've come to find, because I've had to teach myself that lesson at least twice. Once with cresteds, and the other time was with corns, where I was like, I really shouldn't breed 5 or 6 corns, which to some people is laughable because that's like a light season for them. But I don't have a lot of space. My incubator isn't that big. And then when you're breeding other stuff on top of that, be it the boiga or bairds or rhinos, if you're trying to breed chondros, like, it adds up real quick. And it's not until you're knee deep in babies that you're like, this was a really, really dumb idea. And like I said, I've learned that lesson at least.
And corns don't wholesale for that much either, right?
They
or
don't.
do they? I don't know what
It
U.S.
depends on what it
wholesale
is.
is like.
I
as much.
typically, honestly, like, unless it's something like really high end, which I don't really have any really high end corns. Like, I just wholesale everything pretty much the same price, whether it's something rather simple or something a little fancier. Like, to me, I like wholesaling more at this point than I do individual sales on Morph Market. It's just
welcome to my world.
So much easier. Like, not that I don't have any problem with selling to like the general public, but I've seen enough messages from friends that are on Morph Market all the time that are doing this on almost a full-time job basis. And I don't want to deal with that. I really I'm all for helping people and answering questions and stuff, but some of these people that are buying stuff, dude, are not even really buying, but asking a million questions, asking for a million pictures, and then just disappearing. Like, I don't want to deal with that. So I prefer wholesaling. Like, obviously, if you guys had reached out to me and were like, hey, I want some rhinos, like, that's one thing. Like, I'll definitely, if I have people come to me that are looking for something specific, like, absolutely, I'll sell. But it's like, in terms of like putting myself out there on the selling platforms to sell stuff individually, like, my desire to do that is nil. So
yeah,
I just prefer to do wholesale, 1 shipment, 2 shipments, whatever, get stuff gone. Yeah, I'm not making a whole lot in comparison to selling them individually, but I've also pretty much reserved myself at this point that it's never going to pay for itself. And I'm just going to, instead of like spending the money that I on feeders and stuff that I probably should do, it's like, no, I'm just going to go buy more stuff. Like, that's it.
That's what I've done this year.
Yeah, I know me, and I know that I'm not going to do what I tell myself I probably should do. I'm just going to ignore that voice and just go get more Conicus or more rhinos or whatever. It's.
So I'm trying to figure it out though. Why? Okay, let me rephrase. Not why, but if you breed an animal that's worth $30, 35, 40, $50, like even American, is it even worth breeding it? Because technically, the time you're housing it, the time you're feeding it, by the time you get a couple of meals, like you keep it an extra 2 months, you've basically spent all that money on rodents, right? Like that's why, like when you're talking about a corn
On
snake,
paper, no. Yeah, on paper, you're right.
like I'm just wondering, like when you're breeding corn snakes, you're doing it as a passion, right? Because unless your corn snake's a high end corn snake, aren't they all 35, $40 wholesale? Like when you're talking about like
Yeah,
all the lower more,
if not
if
cheaper.
not so,
If
like
pretty much the stuff that I'm working with corn wise, like, is specific morph stuff that I really like. And I know there's a lot of people doing balls now that's kind of the same thing where they're like, I have one morph that I'm really into, and that's kind of what I've just narrowed down the focus to. And like, yeah, it's not an expensive animal, it's not a high end animal. I just like that gene. Like that's kind of where I've fallen in with some of the corn stuff, but also some of it is like, and this is one thing that I don't get is like the concept of like test breedings of like, I don't know if this is het for X, Y, or Z. So to find out, I'm gonna make 20 more of it. Like it blows my mind. It's like you
Why?
the snake test is
Right.
nice, but it's like you're really gonna make 20 more snakes just to find out if it's het AML? I just that concept to me is wild. Like
You could just
I
buy
just
a
put
head
snakes
AML.
together because I think those two snakes might make something cool. Like I don't know, it could. There's probably mystery hets in a lot of stuff. Like in corns, there definitely is, depending on where you're getting it from. But like, I'm never gonna test breed something to find out if it's het a certain thing or not. Like that just seems like a lot of work for a really simple answer.
Yeah. Or you could that rack space could like if you're I guess if you're really into corns and it's like a cooler project or something, I could maybe see that. But when you're doing just the normal stuff, it's definitely doesn't make too much sense. Like I know up here, like was it Tyrone? We have when I vend his tables, we usually have a good selection of corn snakes on there too, because he has a lot of cool corn snakes, and he has his when I was at his place, I was spending Smitty and Chris pictures of his candy cane Tessera project stuff that he was doing, and then he had like Miami candy cane stuff that was actually kind of neat. That
Yeah.
might not be exactly what it was I was sending, but they were they were just cool, and he likes them. And then he has all the cool breeder stuff, whether it's some scaleless and then the cool pieds, the cool albino fire pied stuff
Mm-hmm.
that just super neat. And but he doesn't. But he's also selling at retail and he's selling at wholesale. But he usually doesn't seem to ever produce enough. Like horns seem to be one of those that sells well, but that's only if you're the one that's doing both, right? Kind of thing.
Yeah, and
So
it's also kind of a case of like, again, things being cyclical, but like even going a step further of being cyclical within a species, especially with Facebook groups and things now where people are, they see what's a good example? Like the pied blood red stuff is always going to be popular, but you'll definitely see periods where people are looking for that specifically. And so, of course, like
yeah,
the following year, people have paired a bunch of their pied blood red stuff, and so now there's a ton of it. But then by that point, people have moved on to the next thing that they're interested in, and it's
although I,
just
I think that's one like a Mexican black where like you probably couldn't like you probably could overproduce it, but it's one of those if you make 50 or 20 and you're a bigger guy, like they'll move and they'll move at a
yeah,
actually not too bad of a price either, kind of thing. Like I know Mexican blacks where they were like what $400 even up here,
yeah, it was wild.
and then now they've kind of gone back down to I think
Mm-hmm.
250 or three, but that's still not a bad price, right? That's
Mm-hmm.
still good for the seller and not too bad for the buyer. Like that's a price that people are gonna care about paying that money. They're not paying $50 for it and kind of thing. Like two. I think that sweet spot is that 250 to maybe $500 range. Probably more in the 250 to 350 range, but that 250 to $500 range seems to be that range where people aren't what's your cheapest animal kind of thing.
Right.
But then they're still newer in the hobby, or maybe they're not like that because that high end stuff that's gonna sell if that person kind of knows what they're looking at,
Mm-hmm.
unless you get the odd person that just has money and wants the tortoise kind of thing, right?
Yeah. I mean, you could take it a step further too. Like with cresteds in particular, that was a big divide I noticed. Was not only from people producing them and selling them, but people buying them. Was like people. There were crested people that were looking for just a simple crested. Didn't want it to be anything super fancy. Like they just wanted it to be a good looking lizard. And then you'd have people that were like, these are pet quality cresteds, and then these are breeder quality cresteds, which really pissed me off because it's like, first of all, these are living things we're dealing with, and it's like, yeah, are some of those Craigslist cresteds very good looking? Probably not. But to sit there and say, well, like that's just a pet gecko, then that's not a breeder gecko because it's not $500. That was another thing too that sort of opened my eyes, and like the whole breeding thing was like the amount of people that would tell people in the crested groups, don't breed. There's already a lot of people breeding, so you shouldn't. But it's like, these are the same people saying you shouldn't breed, but are also the same people pairing up 20 cresteds and not thinking twice about it.
At a super cheap price. Like, they're all like nice looking cresteds that are under $200, right? You're like, okay,
like,
so there's...
I'll never tell someone they shouldn't breed. If someone wants to experience it and like see what it's like, as long as you understand what you're signing yourself up for and sort of the commitment on the back end of that when things hatch and stuff, like, go for it. It's really cool. It's a cool thing to go through, like the pairing process, watching the eggs hatch, raising babies. Like, it's awesome. And I won't tell somebody, no, you shouldn't do that, or you shouldn't do it with those two animals in particular because they're, ugly. There's always going to be a demand for pet, quote unquote, quality cresteds. Like, it killed me that there was a very, very obvious gap in, like, well, that's a pet quality crested and that's a breeder quality crested. And it's like, the difference is the breeder quality crested is like some tricolor that's, again, like $500 with a, insane head structure that looks amazing versus, a more browned out lizard that also head structure wise might look really good, but because it's not fancy or not produced by X, Y, and Z breeder, it's somehow lesser than. It's just kind of goofy because there's a kid somewhere that would probably kill to have that pet quality crested that can't afford it or whatever. And it's like, I just thought it was kind of gross. I don't know. But then you have sort of the maybe a similar scenario with like gray banded kings. Like when my dad was producing gray banded kings and I was selling the ones for him, I sold the generic undocumented gray bands tenfold more than the locality specific ones, because I found a lot of, surprisingly, I was not expecting that. There were so many people that just wanted
THN, you're gonna sell out pretty quick.
it was people just want a gray band. They don't care what mile marker it was,
but
took a shit on.
There's a price mark on that, right? You can have the same animals for $250 or the specific locality for $550, right?
The thing is, they're all the same price. Like a gray band, even if it's locale, it's probably still going to be the same price as a
locality is more expensive.
Yeah, I was selling generic ones for like $150 all day long. Eating, great. Like, should I probably ask closer to like 200 or so? Probably, but it was people that would message me being like, I just want a gray band. I'm not looking to breed. I just think they're really cool. They're really pretty, and I want to own one. So I was like, this is perfect because the locality guys aren't going to touch the undocumented stuff with a 10-foot pole because it's not documented. But the people that are just wanting a gray band as a pet aren't going to spend the $500 on a locality animal because they don't care. They just want a gray band. So it was like, there's merits to all of it, and it's
and it's the market too. Like our market, there's not that many localities.
It's just like a mutt green tree python, when you hybridize that shit.
Not that far.
Come on.
They're not hybrids though. Well, unless you got
No, I know. I was just saying that there's a market for everything.
The milk sites.
So talking about the gray bands, I think goes really well with Lisa Farina's question about the fact that a lot of people are getting into green trees, a lot of people are getting into gray bands, and she's wondering if it's going to produce an oversaturation in the market. I think there's certain animals that are the same, where there's something stopping the overpopulation or the overproduction. Exactly. And the wall with the gray bands would be getting the babies started, right? So a lot of people don't want, and then same with rhinos, same with green trees. Like you look, green trees, getting the baby started is a challenge, but also the breeding aspect is a challenge. Keeping them, the husbandry is super easy, but a lot of those species have certain walls that prevent that overproduction or prevent that many people like from producing. We look at how many people have gray bands, a lot, right? How many people produce them? Not that many, because nobody wants to go through that wall of getting them started. Why are like pygmy pythons not that popular? Because nobody wants to get them started. Nobody wants to go through the hassle of doing that. I think green trees have the same thing. They're perfect for pets. People can keep them, no problem. But does everybody want to get all through? Like, how many shows is there on green trees about how to get them feeding? Right? There's shows and hours of podcasts explaining the million different ways that they smack the baby, that they go through hours, or that everybody talks about the pain of getting them started. What does that do? Yeah, I want to keep it because it's pretty, but I don't want to breed it. I don't want to deal with that. Like, there's walls on many species. And anyway, I don't know if that answers Lisa's question, but I think that's the wall with the green trees, and many species like you're naming have a wall there.
It takes a certain psychopath to want to put themselves through that.
Right?
And like that's one of the reasons, when my dad bred those gray bands, like basically I was in charge of those hatchlings and sort of getting those started. And that is still, to this day, the most difficult species to get started that I've dealt with. Like, chondros weren't even that difficult. Rhinos haven't even been that difficult. But yeah, that is the sort of bottleneck with a lot of those species, and that's what's holding them back from getting really popular. Because it's the same thing across the board, be it Alterna or rhinos or green trees. Like, once you get them going and they're eating and stuff, it's all downhill from there. They're a breeze. But it's that climb of getting them there that's what hinders a lot of people, I think, from pursuing them. But I also think, especially with green trees and stuff, it kind of gets overblown. Like, same with the rhinos. Everyone talks about, like, oh, it's so difficult, it's so hard. And it's like, after experiencing it, with the green trees once, so, my sample size isn't very big, but like with the rhinos, it's not that hard. You just gotta, it takes time, it takes patience. Like, eventually they'll switch. It's just a waiting game. It's also, again, like I was saying earlier, it's not fighting the biology of the species. Like, baby rhinos aren't going to want pinkies right off the rip. It's not going to happen. They want tadpoles. They want fish. Like, why fight it? Just give them what they're gonna be looking for, and give them what they want, and then slowly, like over time, offer up the things you want them to switch over to, and eventually they'll take it. It just takes time. It's it's just more. It's extra steps. That's really all it is. But I was sure with the Alterna that the generic stuff would be really hard to part with, because no one's going to want generic Alterna. It is the complete opposite. I had so many people wanting just a gray band, didn't care what rock it was found on, what bush it was found next to 20 years ago with its great grandparents. Like, they just want a gray and orange snake,
Yeah, I think up here, I want to say that they usually, depending on how common they are that year, which there's only a couple people that breed gray bands up here, generally, and most of them are non-locale, other than the one guy who bred them last year, bred a bunch of them, and then got upset at not selling any at a show, and then sold everything.
Mm-hmm.
Which, I get it,
but
it's also, that's just how our market is.
The prices are so different, though. Like, that guy, I don't know if you're talking about the same guy that Shan bought him from, but the 9 miles were like 500, or if they're non-feeding, 250.
You want to know how much Ty sold them for?
Like
250.
Okay, well, were they feeding?
Yeah. They're from that guy. They were all gone. That one I got, he had on the table for like $200.
I didn't know he got out of it. That's too bad, because he had a lot of different localities.
Yeah, no, he sold he got rid of the pines. He got rid of those. He had the pines. Apparently, like Ty said, he had the pines on the table for like $200, and it's like Ty selling his northern, like non-locale black and white northerns for $400.
Yeah, but see, the typical gray bands, non-locality, just gray bands. I mean, Shan picked up a pair of adults, proven breeders that produce every year for $150 each, I think, something like that. And I mean,
like,
pretty low,
but
really good.
Like,
yeah, They do sell though at shows
Oh,
for
you-
$300.
You can't go wrong.
Like that 2 to 350 range. They'll go because people don't see them that often, and they do look cool. But people know about them kinda. But they see that nice Blair's face on the table, and they're like, okay, that's
Yeah,
cool. I've
dude.
wanted that.
I'm a sucker for that. The more orange, the better.
What's the Blair phase? Explain it to me for the sucker that doesn't know
I think
much.
that's mostly what Shan has, like the nice black band, gray band, orange band.
So
Like that,
tricolor.
the nice kind of, but like they have that big orange and
The
like
ones
good
with a lot
silver
of like the nice thick orange bands on them.
So then,
Because you
and
have all,
thick,
like,
but still
that's
some
the
thick
Blair's
gray
phase,
too.
and then you have the Alterna, which is basically the ones that have like minimal orange, if not none at all, that are pretty much just gray and black.
so like the 9 Mile, which has basically no orange, would be considered an Alterna.
Yeah, but
Yes.
those 9 miles will throw Blair's phase too. Like I know guys that have 9 miles that are like bright orange, like they have tons of orange, right? So that's why they're also, I think Alterna means like alternate, so like maybe like they have different patterns and stuff going on too, because their patterns will look like that. So you'll get both out of the same clutch. That's why you can't tell by how they look from which locale they're from, pretty much.
Which is what pissed me off about the whole thing too. Like I was questioning the whole like locality thing for a long time, and then when my dad put together some like Sanderson animals, and got ones that looked like Sanderson animals or what Sanderson should look like on paper, like awesome. But then he also got some that didn't, and he had that happen with a couple other localities, and I'm like, so is this whole like locality thing really complete bullshit? Because I'm seeing both from multiple localities and clutches and stuff like that. And it's like if this was as sort of steadfast as it's been explained to be, like they should all be looking like that locality quote, looking like. So I was kind of like, man, is it just total crap? Like, is it just a selling point? Like, does it even really matter? Because Chris also brought up a good point. Like, does that locality even matter if we're now 6+ generations from the original locality animals? Like, those locality animals were collected in the early 2000s, and now we have babies. Like, can we even really say anymore that that's?
I think it does.
Like, I feel like they could say they're
it's like a hobby
Anderson
locality.
as much as I can say that I'm Irish, because it's like, okay, yeah, my ancestors were Irish. He's like, I don't know.
Yeah, but if you're Irish and you breed to another Irish living in the States, and you two have babies, and that baby breeds to another Irish that lives in the United States, it's still Irish. So to me, that's what a locality is. So you're doing a specific breeding project, but it's still sticking to the same thing, right? If you breed Mexicans together, even if you're all in China and all the Mexicans are breeding together, those are still Mexicans, right? They're still going to have the same genetics. Like, I'm trying to bring it to the point where, to me, a locality will remain a locality. Are you line breeding for certain colors, for certain traits that you love? Yes, so it becomes a line bred project of that locality. Will it look the same thing as the locality, or like actually what it looks like the wild? Maybe not. 6 generations apart, you could have brought it like really yellow, really orange, really gray, depending on what the fuck we're talking about. But it still is that locality, and it still is that specific gene pool. Like, but as soon as you breed it out one time, you breed that 9 Mile Alterna one time to a whatever, like just a normal generic, sure. And at that point, it's nothing. Now it's just a generic. You've ruined it completely. You've become just a generic. So to me, as soon as you breed it out,
still a cool gray band.
It's a cool gray band, but it is not a 9 Mile. It is not a Mountain King. I don't know what you said there. Christmas Mountain.
Christmas Mountain.
There you go. It's not a Christmas tree anymore.
But you could breed it to a different locale in the same county, and you could still call it like Jeff Davis County locality.
You can.
Right, like that's where the 9 Mile markers mix. You
like
could
theoretically,
but then nobody does that. It doesn't seem.
But you can, as long as you advertise it or you name it properly, right? If you breed from 2 localities that are, let's say, 15 kilometers apart, and you name it the county, this is a county locality, I think that's fine. Because you're still a locality, your locality is simply bigger, right? Like, as long as you identify it properly, I think you're fine. I don't think it matters how many generations in you are. Like, Like if we're talking about Australian animals, most people that have Australian animals, man, we're like 15 plus generations in, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't change that locality still exists. Does it look the same as in the wild? Fuck no. There's no way those, like the jungles or the any of those different types of carpets look the same because they've been so line bred. Is it possible to still have locality? I think it does, and I still think it has merit. It's just, will an F1 or an F2 look close to the wild type? Of course.
Right. And the further you get away from that, like it's I've explained it with Baird's rats. You see the super silver, crazy, good looking Loma Altas, and it's like, yeah, you can find some in the wild that look like that, but it's kind of like the absolute best representation of that locality, whittled down over the course of however many generations.
With the lomas though, it'd almost be cooler to drag out more of that color that they have underneath the silver, right? Like if you could drag just
make that
just
orange
a little more out,
go halfway out to the scale instead of being in that like first third closest to the skin.
You need to breed those so I can bring some more up before I give up on this project. I still have it.
Mexicans, I'm gonna put them down over the winter and see if they're both still small, even though they're like 2019.
Okay.
So I might see if I
Do you still have the lomas, or did you move those?
I have one. Unfortunately, I came back from Daytona, and I think the female. No, I think the male rolled. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure if the one you sent me, I think it was supposed to be a girl, and I've tried popping her and probing her, and so far still a girl, but like the tail's huge, and I'm like, I don't know, is this a boy? I don't want to just import.
Long. Like for rats, they're lanky compared to like yellow rats and stuff that we have here. That like yellow rats get big, but they're much more sort of stocky and thick. Like I've found that Bairds for the most part are sort of thinner but long. Like they're just stretched out.
Yeah, she's awesome though. Like every time I'm like, oh, I could maybe move her, and then you just look at her, and then you're like, I don't really want to get rid of you. I'm not really gonna try. And then I was like, well, if I come across or maybe I do another import in the future, it'll be like, okay, maybe I'll get another pair or something and make it worthwhile. Because like the Barretts are awesome and they're super underrated, but there's just nobody up here working with them either. Like I had like an adult male that I got rid of because I was like, well, it's non-locale, and the female I got from you was super young. Like I probably should have just kept it and bred it eventually. But it's like, and then it's like, well, I could get a hypo or something, and it's like, I want to try to keep it locality specific, even though it doesn't really matter because Barretts are Barretts, and they're going to look nice either way, and they're going to be a harder sell either way because they look like a little baby gray rat snake.
Yeah.
But then you need a picture with how they're going to look. You're like, this is going to look like this.
Yeah, you got to bring an adult to really move those. Because I see so many of them at Daytona every year now. Like this year, I saw more Bairds, I think, than I've seen in previous years. And they just get completely looked over. Because, they blend in with all the other Pantherophis and stuff. Like, I get it. It's if you bring adults with you, which I think Tony D and Craig Trumbauer bring. I think Craig brings his albinos or hypos. And I think he probably does better selling Bairds because of that. But like,
those are a nice morph. Those T positive albino Bairds are just so nice. There was one guy that sold his T positive from Tony D up here to like another shop, and I probably should have just bought it because it was like and then I was like I don't know, and I probably should have just bought it.
Made of pearl, like the scales go from metallic to like a pearl. It was really nice.
Like the purples and the oranges and the whites coming through are just super nice. And they only have what 4 or 5 eggs each clutch. Like you're not going to overproduce them necessarily either.
6. Yeah, it's not a ton for sure.
Kind of like subox. Like subox have that 4 to 8 egg size clutch. Like you're never going to really overproduce them, and they're always kind of going to people are kind of going to want them.
And that's why Bairds, like when I was in breeding, putting a bunch of corn pairings and stuff together, like saying, okay, I'll put 2 pairs of Bairds together because it's for that reason. Like I don't have to worry about double clutching and ending up with 30 eggs total from a female. Because one of the years that I did produce way too much stuff, like that happened, that female double clutched, and I was like, oh, I got literally an entire other batch now to take care of, and that's when I was like, I'm not making this mistake again. So you don't realize it until you're in it, and it's too late.
Yeah, and then a year or two goes by, and then you're looking at all the pairs you're going to do, and you're like, I could do that. Next thing you know, you do the exact same mistake again.
No, it's like, oh, this is the pairing that I've been wanting to do for the last 3 years. Everything was just too young still. Like, now they're ready, and it's like, but I still have repeat that with 4 other pairs that you've been raising up.
Yeah.
Like, well, I could wait until next year to do it, or I could just go ahead and rip the Band-Aid and do it now. And it's like, I almost always just end up doing it now.
I'm looking at my pairs this year, and I'm thinking I'm doing too many. I'm afraid of my year because I usually try to pair 12, 13. I'm looking at it right now. I think I've got 17 pairs that I want to pair up. I'm like, fuck, man, who do I cut? Because I'm afraid that I'll hit above my max threshold of 100 babies. So, and I don't want to repeat I had 1 year, I got 143 or 137. I don't know my exact number, but it was horrible. It sucked in every way. And yeah, and this year I'm planning on screwing myself over, and I know it's going to happen, but I don't know who to cut or where to cut, right?
Yeah,
so
it's tough, dude, especially when you've got like just single pairs of certain projects and stuff that you've been sitting on for, again, 3, 4 years, 5 years, whatever, 6 years, and you're like, they're ready. So it's like, do I just wait another year and then do it, or should I just go ahead and do it now because I've been waiting this long? Like, it's so tough.
It's never a bad thing to create demand for something either, right? Like if you have something that doesn't really sell too well, but then it sells kind of, you can always skip a year, let the demand kind of build up, or like there's some, like, what is it, Owen with the olives, he usually gives those, he's found out that like you kind of want to give them 2 years and then sell all the babies, or Maclots. That seems to be Cody Joe with his Maclots and his Dominicans. It seems like 2 years he sells all of them, and then he can have another litter, and then another 2 years, and they all sell, and kind of works out nicely like that.
Yeah, but sorry, I was gonna say sometimes you wait that 1 year, and then they don't breed, and then for some reason you just can't reproduce them anymore, right? Sometimes, like, I don't know, like I've had times where there's a species that I used to breed every single year. I stopped 1 year, and now I can't get them to go anymore. So I don't know.
Yeah, it's an exploding offer, when it's happening. So you got to act now, or potentially not get the chance to do it again.
Yeah,
just boils down to what are you comfortable with, and what are compromises with yourself. How many are you willing to make? I make a lot.
Yeah. Oh, I sold a Kentucky last night, so I only have a pair left. I sold it to a cool ex-zookeeper guy that used to work with some pretty badass stuff back in the 90s, actually. I was chatting to him late last night. He's like, oh, yeah, me and my buddies went down to Louis Porras's in the late 80s and spent like a ton of money. Drove all the way down from Alberta or wherever he was back then.
Damn.
And that was pretty cool. And then he's like, yeah, I kind of want to... This guy breeds Parsons chameleons. I didn't know anybody breeds Parsons chameleons in Canada, but he happened to a couple of years ago. So that was super neat. But now he doesn't even work in the zoo field anymore. But yeah, he breeds Parsons. He's like, I want a pine snake just to target train and keep as a pet. It's like, okay, here's a nice one. So I sold him a male Kentucky. So that was neat. Now I just have one pair left if anybody wants one.
There you go. I sold a couple too. I shipped 2 snakes out last week and sent 2 more to Shan because he sold a couple of mine with his, and I've got another one shipping out tomorrow. So pretty damn happy, actually. I think I've got less than 10 babies left for sale, I think, from this year. That's it. So considering
all the inlands are at Shan's?
Yeah, the inlands are part of the 10. So I've got 5 inlands that'll be for sale, but they're finally eating. They're just not eating great, so they're not for sale yet. And I think I have 4 jungles left, and that's literally it. I guess I'll have pygmies eventually, but those again are not ready, right? So they don't really count. But that's it for my entire year. It's kind of nice when you're down to a few animals, and I'm finally starting to free up cages because I'm looking at animals that need bigger cages. So it's good. But again, like I tend to look at my year as like what's left, what didn't sell, did I breed too much, and I think I've sold every single thing every single year. Like usually by about halfway, like when you go back into breeding, I usually have almost no more animals left for sale.
Mm-hmm.
Which, yeah, I mean, it's never a bad thing. Smitty,
Yeah.
you mind if I ask you? Like, I actually don't know what you keep, so let's avoid the colubrid side because you guys talk a lot of colubrid for a non-colubrid guy. What do you keep boas pythons? I'm just curious.
Right now, just the chondros. No. Chondros and then the rough-scaled sand boas.
Okay, what size of collection are we talking about? Like 2 of each, or
No, the rough-scaled sand boas, I think I'm up to roughly 10 or 12. And then the chondros, I'm at a pretty even mix of males to females, and I'm at around between 9 and 11. So 10-ish.
and are you locality or are you designer?
I'm everything, man. I love green trees. Like the whole locality stuff's awesome. I love it. Hybrid intergrade stuff is awesome. Designer stuff is awesome. The way I look at it is like there's an ugly one doesn't exist. So whether it's pure or designer or whatever, it doesn't much matter to me. They're all awesome.
Fair enough. And colubrid wise, just so I can kind of get an idea, what size of collection are you talking about? Are you at 50, 100, 200 animals?
I'm probably under 75 total.
Excluding babies? Like,
Everything right now. Because I didn't breed anything this year.
oh, okay.
I had a year off involuntarily, but it ended up not being that bad. It was actually kind of nice. So yeah, just on like the reptiles, like snake side, yeah, I'm probably under 75, and then spider, scorpion wise, I'm in the 40s.
And does that, like,
That escalated quickly.
Quickly, dude.
just by curiosity, 40 arachnids / scorpion, how much room is that taking? Because I feel like you can keep most of those, and like, is that just like is that taking the spot of a 4x2x2 or more? Like, I'm just curious.
Dense, probably. Yeah. Everything is in like at most like a 6-quart sized ish thing. I have one that's in a 10-gallon tank because it's a big species. But everything else, yeah, is in like stuff ranging from like small dram vials up to like I said, shoebox size. At least like the internal dimensions equivalent as far as space goes. But that's the problem with inverts, man, is like you can keep so many of them in such a small amount of space.
And the price is so low when you buy like those little things like spiderlings. I've seen them for like $15, $20 for this.
Yeah,
like
depending on the species.
It's insane the low entrance.
The cool ones though are
they're
a little higher.
the paywall in inverts isn't nearly as steep as it is with a lot of herps and stuff. Like the really expensive tarantulas right now are also like they're expensive mostly because of the cyclicalness of it. Again, like there's certain species that are just super in demand and nobody has them and everybody wants them, and so the price when they they are made available is ridiculous. But they also have so many babies.
What's ridiculous? 200, $300 or way more?
200, 300. I've seen some like really rare stuff go for 400. But the problem is like you think stuff drops in price quickly with snakes, like with spiders, you get 4 people in the country get an egg sac from a certain species, and now all of a sudden there's thousands available. So you do that a couple times, and like stuff that used to be $300 for a teeny tiny spiderling, over within a very short period of time. Those same ant things are now $80 a sling, even on the higher end. It just completely depends on the species, and there's always the funny thing is like new species of tarantula are getting discovered all the time, and it is amazing how quickly you see some of those for sale once new species are described. Like
It's the
it's
German.
almost overnight. Yeah, it's like wow, they
It's
just
that
discovered those
saying.
last week, and now there's some available. Weird, like
The first thing that happens when a new species is discovered is 2 Germans get a plane ticket.
Yeah. We've got a buddy in the Arachnerds group chat on Instagram, and he's German, and so anytime we see a paper of a new thing, we're like, Hans, tell your boys not to go. And because he's in Germany, he's big on the true spiders and stuff. For like, Hannes's buddies are packing their bags, they're getting ready. But,
oh yeah, I'm just looking at Tarantula Canada's site, and it's just like, there's so much stuff that, like, I think they have a pretty good selection of stuff. Like they got tons
they
of.
actually are responsible for a lot of species coming into the hobby that were not available previously. Like they've been a major player in terms of like what we have available now. Like we probably wouldn't have had if it weren't for them bringing them in from Europe or, all that good stuff. Kind of like with what Ashley's done. Like there's some stuff that we just never would have
Yeah,
seen if we had not
I
put in
think
the effort
they do
to
some Mexican imports too in that, I believe, as well.
Mhm.
Because Mexico does let some stuff out, but it has to be like a certain amount captive, like generations
Right.
in captivity, and they have to approve it. But like I remember back when I worked in the pet store, and we had a much. Like, I was a kid that got to take care of all the spiderlings. That was fun. That took like 4 hours out of a day every week to feed everything. That was super fun though, because like we had all the brachypelma stuff from Mexico.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you got to feed everything. They take forever to grow, but they're super neat. Now I wish I got a bunch of those like Hensai and some of the other Aphonopelma stuff that we
Yeah.
had there that were like super cheap, and now I don't see any available. And
I
you're
just
like,
got a bicolor
damn,
on
I wish I.
yesterday, and it's really nice.
Yeah, yeah. I think if I get back in to any sort of spiders, I think I want to do some Aphonopelma. I had a Amelia, which is
Mm-hmm.
beautiful, for a bit, and that was cool. I also had the Inancy, one of those like communal, like old one. So it
Oh
kind of looks
yeah.
like a OBT, but like not gonna
Mm-hmm.
fucking hurt like a bitch.
Yeah, dude, it's so the invert side is just it's a perfect storm to get you just addicted because there's just so many cool things, so many cool patterns, so many cool colors. Like to me, the natural history of some of those species is the coolest thing about them. Like one species that I'm trying to sort of pursue and get more into is Taxinus bambus. So it's the bamboo earth tiger, and those were not necessarily discovered, but classified and sort of described in 2022. And they're native to this one single province in Thailand, and they are the only species that's been documented to inhabit like bamboo shoots. So like the species of carpenter bee or some other sort of pest comes in and bores these holes in this bamboo, and then eventually I guess they abandon it, and so then this tarantula species, which is a small one, like inhabits those holes now that they've created and sets up shop. And so I got one of those recently. I have another one coming later this month, and then I'm hoping I'll be able to trade some stuff for another one this coming weekend. But I mean, like visually, they're not really. Yeah, that's a wild caught one because it's got all the sort of the scarification on the carapace there, but like visually, not really anything to write home about. But the natural history of them is just really cool because they're find them in bamboo, like, and a YouTuber stumbled upon them.
Oh, here's the hottie that you talk
Yeah.
about sometimes too.
Phil King, who does Arachnids with me, just sent me some of those too. They're still little.
That's pretty cool. The only I've only ever kept one tarantula, and it was a little Mexican red knee tarantula. And you know what? I loved it. I thought it was one of the prettiest one because
They're
it
awesome,
looked
dude.
amazing. And back then, fuck man, you could buy them for $20, not even.
Mm-hmm.
And probably
Yeah,
kept it.
true Smith eye now are pretty expensive, honestly,
Mm-hmm.
because you got all the other species, and then Smith eye themselves, like true pure Smith eye, are even a sling's like $100,
Oh
at
really?
least $150.
I don't know. That's
Oh
the
yeah,
only one I ever
like
had.
the others are like $40 for like $40 to $80 for like
Yeah,
a sling.
Hamorai. Yep.
Yeah, Hamorai, uh, how do you say it? Eratum.
Yep.
And then you got Amelia, which look a little different, and the
Classy, which
Homora
is
obviously
my
are like
my
the main
favorite.
one. Yeah.
Yeah, see, the problem with tarantulas is there's two walls for me. The first wall is that I can't put the food in the freezer and unthaw it, right?
Yeah.
So I live crickets, no freaking way I'm bringing that in my house. So that's wall number one. Second wall is the wife. There's no way she'd be okay. For some reason, she's fine with tons of snakes in the house, but there's no way a tarantula would be fine for her in the house.
I, I,
You know, so
I understand.
save it.
For me, it's the centipedes. I don't
Oh,
think I
really?
could do
Yeah, see,
centipedes.
centipedes I draw the line at. Those and camel
They're so
spiders
creepy.
I don't do.
The camel spiders are cool. I've seen them in the Okanagan. There's some really tiny. They're
Mm-hmm.
like this big. They're super tiny. Well, they're kind of neat. I can see
Yes.
being creeped out about the bigger ones though.
Centipedes,
Yeah, I know.
centipedes are cool. I just
They're cool to look at.
one.
I would never have it.
That thing gave me the willies,
To be-
man. Those things want to move, dude. They move.
I found a big one in the Okanagan too. One of the nights I was up late, and it was like I swear it was like 8 inches long and like a lot thick. Like it wasn't as tall as Pindra, but it
Mhm.
was like just like way bigger than like the normal little guys you see. And I was like, oh wow, that's weird.
Yeah, we
I
get
didn't
these
know we
little,
got those up here.
you get some that
Yeah,
4 inches is a big one, you know. And
yeah,
it's
those normal
everywhere.
kind of ones that you see everywhere. Yeah, but man, this thing was like a good
Moved my
size, but it
trash
wasn't
the other day,
Scolopendra. Yeah.
and there was 3 of the little red ones, little bark centipedes, under my trash can the other day. I was gonna catch them all and send them to Phil because he was like, "Dude, I want it." I'm like, "You have these native to you up there, dude. Like, what do you? Go find a trash pile or something. I guarantee you lift a tarp or something, you're gonna find a million of them under it. They're everywhere."
Yeah. It's cool that we have the scorpions here too. And in Alberta. Same species, the northern scorpion.
Mm-hmm.
They live up in the arid areas of BC and in a good portion of southern Alberta, especially in the river, kind of along the rivers and those south facing sides of the bank and that.
Yeah, we have one
Apparently,
native species here, but you got to go upstate to get to it. It's not down here on the coast for whatever reason.
yeah, you can in Medicine Hat, where my buddy lives, in the summer because it gets so hot there, you can just go out every night. Just blacklight them all. There'll be thousands of them crawling on the side of the.
It's not even fair. Can you imagine if it was
yeah.
as easy to find snakes as it is scorpions? Like,
Just bring a blacklight.
it's almost not even fun. Like it requires no effort.
It's like eye shining for alligators in the water, right?
Yeah.
It's not fair.
It feels like it's cheating. It's like they literally glow.
Yeah, I always find that hilarious. Have you gotten to the whip scorpions at all, or not really, or the whip spiders, or?
I got my first one 2 weekends ago. They brought back one of those small local shows here, just over the border in Georgia, and there was a guy who had one on his table. He wanted like $30 or $35 for it, and I was like, I was helping my buddy vend, and he was in the booth right behind us, so there was a big open space between us, and I was like, "You take $20 for that thing?" He's like, "Yeah, sure." So I figured out what species it was because as it turns out, there's
discount.
I think 170 plus species of whip spider. This is the Central American, so it's Phrynis wide-eye. And I've never kept them before. Like, they're cool. They don't creep me out or anything. I never really had much of a desire to get them, but then I saw this one. I was like, now's the time. Now's the time to try it out. And those things it's cool, dude. Those things are just from another planet. They're aliens. Like, it's the only way I can describe them, is they're just bizarre. and they've got the weird lobster claw thingies and really thin, long legs, and I think they're damn near blind, but I have one, and he's cool, and I'll feed him and watch him grab stuff and eat it alive, and they're neat. They're really cool. Like, again, natural history wise, it's just interesting because they're just a bizarre. Yeah,
Oh yeah.
they're
They're
completely
neat.
harmless. Like they don't bite, they don't sting, they don't do anything. They just look like they're
And
from
they
a portal
teleport.
of hell. Yeah, and they're quick when they want to be. Yeah.
Is that what you guys are talking about here?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, the what is it? The white eye, I think those are a parthenogenic species too. I think I used to see them on Tarantula Canada's site like 5-6 years ago. They were like super tiny, I think. But then you got the diadems and the other common African import kind of stuff.
There's really not that many people actually like breeding them. Like after we had Nick Kazanza on Arachnids many episodes ago, and we did a whole episode on Amblypygi, which are the whip scorpions and whip spiders. And he's, I think, the only person I know off the top of my head that's actually like putting effort into breeding them, because they're imported in massive numbers and cheap, and it cracks me up that nature would create something that looks so hellacious as those things, and they're completely harmless. Like if I were a predator or like the early ape form that we had way back when and saw one of those, I wouldn't go near it because I'd be like, that thing looks like trouble, and they're just it's just a bug.
Yeah, I remember seeing one on the Python Hunters when they went to Puerto Rico, and I saw the Puerto Rican boas, and then in the cave they found the whip scorpion. I thought that was super cool.
When I was in the Bahamas a couple months ago on a cruise, like we were in this little cave area, and that's what I was looking for, man. I was like, surely they have some of these here because they have them in like Florida. There's, I think, like the bottom half of Florida, there is a species that's, I don't know if they're native or introduced or what, but I'm like, surely they have some of these in the Bahamas. And maybe if we had been able to go there at night, I probably would have seen some, because like when the lights are on, I really don't see them hardly at all.
Oh yeah, that'd be cool to do do like a trip with like Rob, and go look in the Bahamas, like island hop from the Bahamas to maybe the Dominican, and then hop to Puerto Rico, and then go and look for West Indian boas.
I'm gonna go look for retics
at night
in Puerto Rico.
That'd be fun too.
I had no idea that they had like an invasive population of retics.
That's pretty cool.
The last year or so.
I thought Python Hunters kind of mentioned it a little bit, but like obviously it wasn't as big 10 years ago.
Yeah,
they mentioned boas
like
too,
normal retics either. We're talking
I know.
Retic morphs are just
like albinos and shit.
Yeah. I saw a video. I was like, no way. Like, see, that'd be fun.
I know. Noah Fields found some of those Abaco Island, the Exul boas. That was super cool. It's like, fuck, there's only like, 3 or 4 of those left in the hobby that are from animal. Yeah, the 4 left were bred 15 years ago, but from animals that were like 40 years old from Thomas Huff's collection, because I think those animals themselves were kept by Peter Tolson for the longest time, who's like a big West Indian boas guy who sadly he passed away last year, I think.
Like a Kylobothris tour and like
right.
Subflavus and so like you know how cool it would be to see a Jamaican boa in Jamaica.
That'd be sick.
How
and then
would that be?
Hit some of those rare Cyclera too, right? Like there's some fucking weird Cyclera in the Bahamas and the Virgin Islands and that. Like some like not even rhino iguanas, which are also cool to see in the Dominican and that, but like freaking there's somebody here that breeds I think it's whatever the genus name for Fiji iguanas is. They breed this super rare species of Cyclera that they somehow got. That like they're posting it, so obviously they probably did something legal to get it from Europe or whatever. And they have them available. They're expensive. Same with they also have Fiji cresteds that they breed every year. And those are, from what I've heard, the price on those is like $18,000 a pair or something for cresteds, right? Like the Tongas and the normal bandeds are, if me and Dominic wanted them, we could probably get them for $4,000 a pair, probably.
Mm-hmm.
And like you get loan males for like 1,800 bucks kind of thing. And they're honestly like not too many people keep them because as what's his name, the smuggler guy says they're just an iguana. They're freaking cool, but they in the end they are just an iguana, and they're not nothing special to keep. Like they're cool. They're freaking cool. I would love a pair, but it's not something I'm gonna go out of my way to.
If you're looking for
purchase.
it to be an experience, that's not the species to do it with.
No, like I'm sure, like you could set them up, probably super cool. Feed them hibiscus flowers and stuff, but they're not. It's not gonna be some magical thing either, right? It's just
it's not gonna be.
You could have just as much fun keeping a frill dragon or something like that. Yeah.
So here's a thought. When you're breeding like an $18,000 pair of crested iguanas, right, which sounds completely ridiculous. Have you guys ever wondered why it is that when we're talking about, let's say, a cat or a dog, you breed your pure species cat, whatever. Like we have a Cornish Rex cat that we bought for $1,500, and you know what? It comes and it's spayed. You buy a purebred dog, it comes, it's spayed, it's neutered, blah, blah, blah. You come that. But when it comes to reptiles, so you're breeding these crested iguanas for 18,000, you're not sending it spayed or neutered to your customers, right? In the end, you're sending a pair of animals for 18 grand who will potentially, those people will become your direct competitors. And then, you know, I've always wondered why it is that in our market, we're literally selling animals to create competition against ourselves, right? I don't know. What's your thought on that? Have you ever tried to look at that aspect of the hobby? Like we create competition as soon as we sell animals compared to tons of other in the animal kingdom. A lot of the other people, they don't do that at all. There's a whole different side of things, right? It's like if you sell a lone male only, there's a price, but if you sell a breeding animal that is, you know, like your purebred dog or cat will sell for a lot more if you don't fix it. I don't know. It's something I often wonder.
I think it's more of a concern for the people that are breeding stuff that is, dare I say, a very saturated market, like ball pythons, corn snakes, crested geckos, that kind of thing. Like, but even then, at this point, there's so many people doing it that it's like if I sold a pair of something to somebody, I'm not really worried about that because there's already 1,000 other people with the same thing going on. But then, like with the rough-scaled sand boas, I don't have to worry about that at all because nobody's buying them except for me and like probably 5 other people in the States right now. Like nobody gives a shit about rough-scaled sand boas.
I think there was like 2 litters up here, maybe.
We're safe there. Rhinos, again, like we were talking about, there's sort of the hurdle of babies, which is going to deter a lot of people, so it's not really a factor there. Like condos probably fit in that a little better, but like, yeah, when you keep,
I don't know. I think rhinos are
except you. Like it's pretty easy to not have to worry about it.
I think rhinos are one of those species like Bobby Pebbles always says, right? They're one of those that they're kind of, for some reason, their price has just held the last 20 years. It's held at that $600 mark.
I really think.
I think it's coming because some of those European imports from Ashley were pretty cheap, although they weren't feeding. They were feeding on fish.
The next couple of years, I think we're going to see rhinos take a pretty significant dip because
that was still a pretty good run.
Every year, I think they'll always have like retain. Yeah, they'll retain a certain level of that. Like I don't ever see them getting to the point to where they dip below, $300 or $400.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Yeah,
there's every year I see more new people, like not new to herps, but like new to rhinos, like breeding stuff, like breeding new people coming into rhinos, new people breeding ones for the first time that they've had for a couple of years. Like they're getting a lot of traction in terms of that. And again, that's another species where like sort of the smaller clutch sizes also kind of prevents them from really exploding. Because I feel like if they had clutch sizes of like corn snakes where they have 15, 20, whatever, it'd be a very different story. But yeah, I mean, we'll see. But the that's kind of the tough thing, like with the rough scaled Sambos in particular. Like I would like to breed those at some point, but that is something I am already sort of considering of like when should I, and will people be more interested in those by the time that I am breeding them, because seeing what's been sitting on Morph Market for literally the past year, if not longer, like nobody's buying rough scales, dude, except me.
That
Like I said,
that's kind of weird
I think,
because I think although there's only been like a couple litters last year kind of thing, and they're one that's been up here for a while, kind of like everything else, where Canada gets sporadic things where okay, a couple people breed it, like rosies, you get a small handful of people
yeah,
throughout the
it's a
country,
side thing, like
and
Rob said.
then you don't sell them, and then you just wholesale them to a pet store and they sell them. Like that's the thing is they might not be selling because the person selling them doesn't really have a name yet, and they're not one of those species that you go out, okay, like I want that species, and I'm gonna go buy it, even if that person isn't necessarily not necessarily trustworthy, but like that has a name, right? So maybe
Yeah,
that could also be a part of it.
I don't know. When I look at them, and I check Morph Market in the rough scaled Sandbow section at least once a week, like seeing where everyone's sort of got their pricing and some of the other things. Like it makes me wonder if maybe they weren't such a hard sell if prices had dropped a little bit, like not a ton. Like I feel like 195 American for sort of a run of the mill baby Conicus is kind of a tougher sell, because when you're comparing that 195 to something else, like some of the Kenyan morphs, like it's kind of it's a hard sell, man, because you're talking about a little brown and gray dirt snake compared to a screaming red and black Kenyan. Um, so I'm wondering if that's one of the like if we would see that needle move significantly more if prices on Conicus had just kind of, if we drop them down a little bit, get them into more people's hands, and then
Yeah,
maybe, because they don't have the flashiness that the Kenyans do. Like there's the caramel and hypo stuff, which is nice. Um, Unfortunately, like nobody knows anything about it. They could be the same gene. I'm hoping to get to the bottom of that and be able to do an article to put on the network website about it. Um, there's a ton of variation in them. Like you get with what's in the hobby, you get some that are more of a grayish tone. You get some that are more of like a rusty red. Like there's
kind
there's
kind of
really
like
good, like,
Angolans,
yeah,
right? Where
yeah.
they have that different
Mm-hmm.
patterns will change a little bit and colors will kind of change a little bit, but not an insane amount
But
necessarily.
it's just, it doesn't make sense to me either, because in talking to Rob and some other people that have bred them, like they're not difficult to get started compared to like Kenyans. They come out a little bigger. Um, my adult female that I have is really chill. Like I took her to that educational thing I did last weekend. She did great. My males are terrible. The babies for the most part are okay, but I think they're great because, like, I have that male that March will be 2 years since it has taken a meal, because I've had it for 2 years and he has not eaten for me, and that animal is fine. Like that species is perfect. If you're someone that takes a lot of vacations and is never home, but you want something, like they are just indestructible. Like those are some of the toughest snakes I think on the
It doesn't even take live. Yeah.
I don't know. So I
Oh,
have a breeding group of mice now, and I'm hoping I can offer him some fuzzies and see if he'll take. I did try live rat pups and stuff a couple um, months ago, and I think they're a little shy. I think with food size, I think if it's a little too big, it spooks them, and it kind of turns them off. So I think you got to go a little smaller than what you typically would do for a snake of the same size. Um, so we'll see. I mean, the babies drop feed fine. Um, and it's not uncommon for males to go off food for a very long time. Like I think Rob told me that he's doing good if his males are eating like 3 months out of the year. They run on nothing. They're built to live off so little intake that it's unbelievable. So But that male's been doing fine. Like, I haven't had any issues. He's not losing any noticeable amount of weight or anything like that. And it's just they get so hyper focused on girls when they're in season that they claim those free spins. Who's that? Is that Canada stuff?
No, this is Europe. This is like
Oh,
Germany.
okay. Gotcha.
They've got
Like Europe has some funky, like Conicus
Yeah,
morph
that's,
stuff.
That's probably some of that hypo-caramel stuff, I'm sure.
Like they got
a spotted, there's a
reduced
stripe.
pattern,
and
white spotted.
these are all like
Albinos exist.
these are what, like 14, 16 inches snakes full grown, right? Or are they even bigger than that?
Like
No, they
Conicus
could
get
be-
bigger.
Yeah.
Yeah, they don't get massive, but definitely bigger than like your Kenyans.
Funky
Yeah, see, I don't know.
European sandbows. Millerus.
Oh, okay, yeah. Yeah, those got reclassified at some point because those used to be Tataricus, I think.
Yeah,
'Cause
that's what I thought too.
There's someone that just put one up on Morph Market, and I was like, that ain't a... They put it under the rough scale section. I'm like, that's not a rough scale, and they ended up auctioning it.
Ooh, look at that.
Oh, the Jaculas are cool too. There was a pair of those at Daytona this year.
Oh wow, really?
Really cool to see those. Yeah, Doc Brown picked them up.
Ooh, they got the wideband stuff.
I have to put the blinders on to some of the Kenyan stuff, dude, because I can't.
Well,
I can't get sucked in. I love.
I want some
Annery
freaking
Kenyan.
nuclears.
Ugh.
I can give you some. I got like 6 here.
There's just something.
Although I
don't know
think
what
we
it
need
is about that.
CITES.
Just a simple Annery Kenyan to me is like all you need. Well, I want some of those Bothothalmus, or however you pronounce it. Those weird African snakes that Matt Mose is producing there.
Oh yeah, those are rad.
When you say anery, are you talking about Kenyan sandbows?
Yeah.
So just by curiosity, I heard Nick often talk about the whole anery thing. Whenever there's an anery, there's no exanthic phase either. It's one or the other because it's basically the same gene. He goes on this gigantic rant that anery and exanthic are the identical thing, but that whatever species you name about, there's only an anery or there's only an exanthic. Is that the same case with the sandbows?
I don't know. I have wondered about that though myself because like
I think
sort of always interpreted them as being pretty much the same thing in terms of what they do to the pigment, but
I believe exanthic has yellows in it or something, or one or the other has yellows still, even though like
I think it's anery.
one of the
I have anery corns that still have yellow on like the neck and stuff.
yeah.
But you're not going to have an anery exanthic corn, right?
No,
because it's the same
they
thing.
kind of they improperly use it interchangeably, I believe, and that's where the issue is.
So many terms with genetics, I think, in the hobby that get misused. Like
I always thought that anery was used more for the red pigment and exanthic was used more for the yellow pigment, but which turns out to be the same pigment from what I understand.
Yeah, like with
pay grade.
like I would say like sandbows are like it's black and white, so like whatever it's supposed to be, they would definitely be like a good kind of baseline for that.
Dropout, dude. What do I know?
Same here. I do drive.
Why we have Doc Lyman around? Anytime I have really stupid genetics questions, I message him and I'm like, explain this to me like I'm 5.
Yeah, or get Nick on. Nick will go on a 30-minute rant.
Oh, right. He went on that rant. That's what he was saying. Basically, that exanthic and anery are the identical thing. And that's why you'll never ever see an animal in the same species that have both exanthics and aneries, which I think is interesting. And I was just curious to see if it worked in the boa world too.
Even like
there's an improper term. But...
What was that, Smitty?
Like red tail boas, like imperator and stuff. Like that?
From what I understand, it's like that everywhere.
I've ever seen exanthics though.
Again, let's say in ball python, is there an anery ball python? It's just exanthic, right? Right, like you name the species and you think about it.
I've seen an anery hognose.
But is there exanthic hognose?
I've seen exanthics all over the place.
It's always one or the other.
That's weird. I've never thought about that.
So,
but one of them right. There's I think they're like one of there's just supposed to be a proper term for each, but which is like hilarious, right? How like the hobby just like whoever produces it first just slaps a name on it,
Right.
and that's where we're gonna go with that species or that even genus, right? Because it seems like boas. Is there even any exantic, like in exantic boas anywhere,
Well, it's
or are they
even
all
with
anery?
like the Bairds, the hypo, albino Bairds debate. It's like
Oh yeah, we haven't even come to a consensus on that
it's
one.
the same thing though, because like I've asked Doc Wyman about that, and it's like hypo and what is it, T negative or T positive? I think it's T
Positive.
negative, right?
I think it's
Positive.
positive, right? Because they don't have or something.
Yeah,
I
he's
thought it
like
was T
it's
positive.
essentially
Yeah.
the same thing. So he's like, it doesn't really matter what you call it, because whether you call them hypos, you're right. If you call them T positives, you're right. Like basically the end result ends up being the same. So
Yeah.
that's why I end up using hypo and albino interchangeably. I usually just say hypo just because it's quicker. But
Yeah, but there's so many of that we all say wrong. Like just like the word exanthic, almost every single exanthic is not exanthic because they all have a degree of yellow pigmentation. So therefore, it should be a hypoxanthic animal, not axanthic, because A is the absence, hypo is the decrease, right? Which if you don't remove all the yellow, therefore it's not exanthic, and almost every single
But then
exanthic.
that would make it anery, or whichever one it's supposed to be. It would make it the as long if it's fully black and white, then it's
Yeah, but
maybe
is it
I'm gonna search this up.
is it really fully black and white, right? Because when you strip down other colors, there's a reason why you still find some, right? Like most of the animals, if you add other genes that strip away other colors, you'll still find some yellow in them, which is why most exanthics aren't exanthics. They're actually hypoxanthism. But anyway,
see, and that's
it's
interesting because we have like the mud snakes here, like naturally, and there you'll get populations of them that are anery, and they are just black and white. It's normally a red and black snake.
yeah.
The aneries.
But I bet you if that mud steak, let's say, was an albino, and you removed all the black pigmentation on it, I bet you behind that black would be some yellow that would be hidden.
The quick Google search is exantic is the reduction of yellow pigmentation, and anery is the reduction of red pigmentation.
Yeah, but again,
but that's probably not the full picture.
so the letter A in front is for absence. The hypo is reduction. So Google is wrong on that one. I don't know what to tell you because as soon as you have A in front, it's absence. It's not reduction.
Because anerytharistic is like erytheristic. Erytheristic is red. Like hypo is erytheristic, right? Like if your hypo animal is theoretically erytheristic.
Hyposexual, not asexual.
Yeah.
Like an asexual animal is an animal that does not reproduce sexually, right? It's not hyposexual. That's what I'm trying to get to. It is if it's exanthic, it has zero of the pigmentation. Great way to put it, Smitty.
That's what I mean. Like the quick one was like yellow. Like the exantic is no yellow, and the anery is no red. But I thought almost
there's not having it at all, and then there's having a little.
Yeah, right. Like that's what I mean. Like I don't think that's the full picture. Damn, we need to bring Nick back on. I need to talk. I wasn't on the Nick episode, and now like I want to just.
It was such a great show, man. You
vomit of human history and the Pleistocene.
Right. You know what? We should bring Nick on only to have a drinking show behind it and a drinking game with everybody. Before he comes on, you say every time he says these words, you take a shot, right? And you got to do it for the host too.
Everybody just simultaneously.
No, but imagine if we actually did that and be like, every time he says plasticine, we have to take a shot. And you say it to all your guests. You just make sure Nick doesn't listen to any of this shit, right? He doesn't look at anything, so he wouldn't actually know. And I bet you it would be the funnest show ever, because you only tell him later in the show that you're like, sorry, Nick, we're a little fucking drunk right now. Oh, it would be priceless.
That'd be hilarious.
If you're not drunk within the first 45 minutes.
Yeah, you didn't play the game right. As Justin Julander's there drinking Diet Dr. Pepper. You guys haven't even brought Nick on once though. I don't think. I don't think you guys have done a mutton episode.
We haven't.
You brought everybody else on except Nick, I think.
I don't know. We haven't. We really moved.
Well, you
away
don't.
from
Actually,
a lot
you
of
guys are
other
good
top
about
off
not.
stuff over
Yeah.
time. Like Jake sold his soul and just went full bore colubrid guy.
Yeah.
He just.
You used to bring Casey on a bit. You haven't had Casey on in a while too. We need to bring Casey on just to
He's pretty busy,
bust his balls about. Was it? I called Zach Loffman like the week of Casey doing his like thesis thing, and he's like, "Yeah, I made Casey shit his pants during his presentation." Don't fucking read from your script. You know this stuff. That was hilarious.
Yeah, there's some guests that are just really tough to get. Sorry, Smitty, go ahead.
Casey's had a lot of evolution with his collection as well. I think he's big into blue tongues for a while, and I think he recently started pursuing jumping spiders. I don't know where that came from, but all of a sudden he's like, "I got some jumpers." I'm like, "What?"
And he's selling Dawn stuff into the U.S. too, right? So, which is like fair. Like Dawn obviously wholesales to like a couple people up here too, but I think most of his stuff is honestly to Asia.
He's had that relationship with Casey for a very, very long time because he's talked to me about it many times in the past. And yeah, he mainly goes to Japan too because we talk about it a lot. Like he's taught me a lot of the things I do because that's what he does too.
Yeah, Chris Bainjab, when he was breeding gargoyles and stuff heavily, he would sell everything to Korea. Like he never had enough stuff. He's like, as soon as he'd have it, he'd be shipping entire boxes and entire seasons worth of production to Korea.
Yeah, that's fair. That's why, Dom, you need to maybe see if some of your Japanese customers want some bright yellow pine snakes.
See, the problem...
Although not that I'm going to have any available for when you ship.
The problem people don't realize is that by the time you apply for the permit, you need to know what you're applying for, and then you need to make, like, minimum of 3 generations of paperwork to prove where they come from. It's such a fucking pain in the ass. Like,
but the Kentuckys are non-CITES. You just need to declare them, right? You just have to declare
I'll be honest,
and to make sure they're legal in Japan.
I've never sent.
You don't need CITES,
but I've never sent anything non-CITES there, so I don't know. Like, are Angolan CITES? Yeah, okay.
All pythons and boas.
Okay, so everything I've sent is CITES, so I don't know how to do non-CITES, which sounds like it'd be a lot easier. But everything I've done is CITES, and CITES is the whole thing. So it's easier to make one line of a certain species, and then whatever it is all bred by that line. You know what I mean? Like, it's a lot of people kind of organize it that way, and I've talked to a lot of people, and that's what they do, right? If you have a certain animal or certain animals you work with, that's how you do it. So that this way you don't have to rewrite all the documentation, all the paperwork, right? In the end, it's the same animal. It's just, if it's its sister that bred instead of the main mother, does it really make a difference? Anyway. But yeah, I don't know. You and like 40 other people keep asking me to add their animals to my orders. I'm like, it just doesn't work that way, man. I just can't do that. Like, it's just not going to happen.
Unless I had three generations of non-CITES. Well, I guess the non-CITES would be an easier ask than the other ones, but yeah, no, I get what you're saying. It's a pain in the ass. There's a reason why not too many.
I just don't know how to do it for non-CITES. I imagine it's an easy feat, but
I would think like corn snakes and stuff, it's not that difficult.
It would be the same thing, yeah. Same thing as corns. As long as they're legal there. Like, I've heard stuff where, these bull snakes aren't actually legal in China or something, but like for some reason it seems like Hong Kong is like different than China, but the same now. So like, I don't even know what's going on. Like, it's weird.
I don't want to have to pay attention to the geopolitical landscape to know whether or not I can ship stuff to wherever I need to go.
Yeah. Like, Japan is probably okay. But, like, you never know. There could be some weird law that, oh, no, we don't like colubrids over this length kind of thing or something. Like, it's probably fine. But you never know, I guess. You'd have to look into it. Yeah. This episode's been...
Up over there if they send me some of those conspics they've got.
Were you gonna
Oh
say?
yeah, these are the Japanese forest rat snakes, not just the normal Japanese rat snakes that everybody works with. That because you got the Kunisher Island normal
The only way I'd be able to
Climacophora.
afford some is to probably pay to send cool stuff over there.
Lots of rhinos. Rhinos will pay for it.
Also, there's something I wanted to say at the start of the episode. I'm not going to say the name in case he doesn't want to be noted, but for the first time in like 6 or 7 years, there has been diamond pythons born in Canada. So if you know who you are, congratulations. I'm proud of you. So
Hell yeah.
I just want to say it.
Easier up there.
It would be easier. Well, you got to have some to start with. Do you know how hard it is to find some? And you guys were talking about
Well,
Ashley.
sell them.
You were talking about Ashley Dazan, which is funny because Star Pythons has just partnered up with Ashley, and now is everything he has is pretty much being moved twice a year through Ashley now. So diamonds will become much more readily available because he's trying to move his stuff through her, which will mean that it's pretty much like an easy way to get it into Canada now. Because when we got it through him, it was the hard, like it wasn't easy. Like we had to go through him and get all our permits and do it through like that. And now there's an easy entry, kind of like UK Python. You can get all this stuff so easily through Canada now. So
I'm sure it's easier for everybody when they have someone like Ashley, where like there's already sort of a working relationship, and they know that she's legit, and they know that all her her I's are dotted and D's are crossed, and the process is, I'm sure, much smoother.
D's are crossed.
I's are dotted, T's are crossed.
Oh, I heard D.
It's late o'clock. It's late where you guys are right now.
Yeah, this episode's been all over the place. Wow.
I like it though. I like how we just went into it and didn't even worry about an introduction. Really, I really enjoyed this.
Roll.
Yeah.
So everybody, for this episode, we're bringing on Smitty. Everybody, welcome, Smitty.
I think everybody listening probably knows Smitty. That's why I don't think we needed an introduction. It was just kind of cooler to just roll right into a conversation because
I'm sure they're all probably tired of hearing.
Yeah, everybody's gone.
Yeah. No, we got more people than when we started.
Oh, really? How many? I can't see anyone.
We have 4.
4.
We had 5.
Damn.
And when we started, we had like 2. So this is
damn. That's like 3 times more than every other time.
This is only our second live.
All right, fair.
That's pretty good. But these are the lucky people because the show's going to be released next week. So only the lucky people who listen to this on YouTube will get to hear it early.
Again, we decided to do live an hour ago, so it's not like if we posted it anywhere. So really, we're just trying it to see how it goes. I'm thinking honestly that we should just do live shows every single Sunday. I don't know, it works well. What's the difference between being live or not? It gives the people a chance to get there, and some of the questions kind of are good and help us have ideas of where to go in the conversation, right? So I don't know.
Yeah,
it's
I mean,
always
it's
good
nice
getting
to get like real-time feedback and like get questions and stuff sort of as you're going, because the more sort of perspectives and questions you get might be stuff that you didn't think to bring up.
Yeah, exactly. Like Lisa's comments were all really good. I think one we missed was do you guys think locality gatekeeping will turn people off a species, which is like she says with rosy boas are kind of fair. Like we need to get rosy boa people on. There's
like
been
when people join the Alterna groups wanting to get into Alterna, and they come in and see that it's like, if it's not pit tagged with the exact square foot of sand it was found on, it's not real. It's intimidating. Turns people off.
Yeah. Like it takes you a year or 2 getting into the hobby to start being like, locality stuff is actually pretty cool. It's pretty cool to know where something's come from.
But there's so many people that get in just for that reason because of the localities. Like I think there's also the reverse effect that it gets more people in because of that.
It's like that extra nerdy part.
Yeah, like it's cool to have that, to be able to nerd out on a species like that. It just makes it more interesting.
Yeah, for sure.
Those are the ones that end up being the gatekeepers.
All right, fair enough.
I'd be okay breeding my Wild Rose Pass to a Boy Scout road and just calling them like Jeff Davis or Davis Mountain locale subox. Like
It's a
they were
Texas Subbok. That's the locality.
yeah. Yeah, like I remember, like when I asked Nemo, he was like, "Oh, yeah, these are collected close to Boy Scout Road." So if I bred them to a Boy Scout, like how much different is that? Like I could just say they're Jeff Davis County or Davis Mountain Subox, and I'm not really wrong. Like they're
Right.
and that would be able to outcross them too, and they still keep a kind of a locality name. But who has normal Subox anyways? Like it seems like everybody breeding
Yeah.
Subox is producing blondes and silvers. Like it would be cool to have locality blondes, but I kind of like having my normal Subox. There's nothing cooler than like a 3.5, 4 foot snake that just comes out and stares at you with his big googly eyes.
Hey, people should breed whatever they want to. Just make sure it's accurately represented.
Oh yeah, for
I
sure.
mean, you can only do so much because once it's out of your hands and somebody else then decides to sell it, and the person that bought it from them decides to sell it, like you're, now 3 collection generations deep, and the entire locality could have changed at some point, between
Yeah,
A and B. So
yeah. That's where like roses are harder to, because they only seem to have 3 to 5 babies. But there's also not as many people breeding them in the first place, I don't think. Like you got like the mid Bajas and the Mexicans that seem to be common, but everything else is not as common, it seems. And underrated. But I think we almost need to start like a weird boa podcast, just like rosies and sand boas. But it's hard to get some of those old guys on too, right? Like obviously you've dealt with Craig, but like it would be cool to bring Craig on for that even. But even he would probably say like, "Oh, you need to talk to this guy." Or
I was just say, why don't we?
my buddy would be great for that, but he doesn't want to do a podcast kind of thing. That's where I think it gets
that's
tough.
the tough part with some of the older guys, man, is like the technological challenges. A lot of them don't have the patience to want to figure it out, even if it only takes 5 minutes. But
Yeah,
a lot of them also are like, they're not into that.
yeah.
The whole thing.
I would love to bring
Whatever.
Craig on though.
Craig was cool. Craig was awesome.
Yeah, although
he
he every time sometimes I feel like he probably gets so many messages from people that he just like ignores half of them, right? Like that's where it's like
his inbox is just an endless stream.
Yeah, that's where you need to like befriend one. Like I talk to Rob Nemo every few months. I send him a message seeing how he's doing, kind of thing. And even though I've never met him in person, like he's a great guy to talk to. He always sends me a couple paragraphs of something cool.
I've never talked to him. He's at Daytona every year, but I've never
you never like talk to him. Like I feel like you were with
him and Tony and Craig are all, and Howie Sherman usually are like in the same pod at Daytona.
Yeah,
and like Rob's always there. I just never really.
You should,
I've
man.
said hi to him. Like I've looked at his stuff. His stuff's on his table's awesome. I just I've never had conversations with him like I do Tony. Because like even between the 3 of them, like I talk to Tony D the most out of all of them. But
he said he might come on. I talked to him. He's had some family stuff going on the last few years, but he is like, well, what would it entitle? And I'm like, well, it's not too hard. So he says maybe in the new year if we can. Might have to like do like a normal day that we wouldn't do it, but it'd be cool. But I fucking think Phil would do. Phil and Nipper with Rob would be just so good because Rob's bred Gilas for the last 35 years and bred ridge nose rattlesnakes, and I think he has death adders and stuff too. Like he breeds cool locality colubras, but he has like an insanely clean, well kept venomous collection as well. And
there's a whole other
it's just
side
so cool.
to that.
Yeah, this is so neat. So like all these like hidden gems kind of thing.
Maybe for those like cryptic species that not that many people keep or stuff like that, we should try to do like a round table for them. Like even if you have the people that just keep them as their side hobby, you bring in like 3 people that like I'll go back to the Angolan. You go with Angolan, you bring 3 people on or 2 people on, give or take, that all keep them on the side who's bred them, and then you do a round table. Same thing with your sand boas, right? Like even if they're not their primary, if you had a couple of people, it could potentially be pretty interesting. Again, harder to make it happen, but could be pretty cool.
Yeah, and hoping everybody's internet kind of keeps that kind of thing
too.
But either way, though, it would be neat, and I think it would be cool. and I don't know, maybe whether if Smitty wants to start doing Sandboa stuff with us too or something, or however that works out kind of thing. I'm sure in the end we'll eventually get some of those cool podcasts out there, whether it's Justin doing it with Phil
Yeah.
or us doing it, or
It won't be me.
maybe we collab a little bit, right? I don't know. Maybe we do a Reptile Reject Sandboa, like Boa Corner or something. I don't know.
I mean, the only
That's
thing I
a
could really
few.
speak on for that is just the Conicus, though, because my
Yeah.
experience with Kenyans is having like one or two here and there over the year.
Yeah, and like I've only had my pair for 15 years now that I bred 6 times, but I've only just got another pair that have a couple of years to raise up. But I don't know, just asking those questions, right?
I think it's almost too niche though to do a whole show, like to do like a show
Well, no,
just on that.
yeah.
Like you can do a show here or there just on that, but doing like like the Sandboa podcast, like how
Yeah,
how
I
many
agree.
people could you bring on to just talk about Sandboas? I think it's so niche that within 5 episodes you'd be like, what the, like, I don't know. I feel like you'd be way too cornered.
Yeah. But that's where you keep it more of as like a boa podcast, right?
Yeah.
You do like boas, but you branch out. Like, oh, we do
Yeah,
one
yeah.
on here, then we do one on annulated tree boas.
Oh,
Do
100%.
one on Russian bergeri, do one on emeralds,
Oh,
do one on rosies.
only issue is I'm not a boa guy, so you'd have to find yourself a boa guy.
Have to up the premium on the account. Ooh, Lisa, has anyone had Warren Treacher on?
I have talked to Warren, and he seemed open to it, but it never got revisited because I think
What does he keep? I feel like I've heard that name.
He wrote the Sandboa. He wrote the
Sandboa. Okay. We should do that.
Set it up.
He was like I said, he was open to it. He just at the time he was like out of town or traveling or something, so we just didn't.
Okay. That makes me think. Maybe need to up the premium on this hosting platform and be able to do more than 15 hours worth of recording a month.
Is that how much we have?
Yeah, I don't know. It's weird.
15 hours.
They say over that you need to like do like a custom thing, but I know I have a feeling StreamYard's different with how much you can record.
Like 50.
Okay.
But you can clear it out. You don't just delete recordings from your account, and then it clears it out.
Well,
we don't have to delete recordings, but it says per month you can only record a certain amount, kind of thing. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
All right, gents. I don't know how long you guys wanted to go, but at some point I gotta go to bed.
5 more hours, Tom.
So it is 3 hours later for me, just for the record. I don't know where Smitty is though.
I'm on the East Coast.
He's just south of you.
All right. Then I'm old. I don't know what else to say.
My wife just popped her head and was like, "Are you almost done?"
Oh.
3 more hours.
3 more hours. The sun up yet?
No. Is Phil here yet? We gotta get Phil on. Phil, you're late. Just kidding. We tried to make it easy and not.
I think he's in California, Lisa. I don't
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
We need to do an episode with Phil too next. At some point, he's a hard guy to pin down. I've even tried just to bullshit with him on the phone, and it's always hard to pin him down, kind of thing.
He is, dude. He stays busy.
Yeah, and then it's like I'm like when I'm working and he's just off work, probably driving home. I'm doing stuff, right? Like, and I'm sure his days off are filled with cleaning venomous and then hanging out with Anna Maria, kind of thing. So it's or Anne Marie. Yeah.
He's a busy guy.
Yeah. Alrighty, Dom. You should probably close it out before people want to.
Well, especially if we're at 2.5 hours. If we only have 15 hours a month, aren't we going to go over? I think we did an extra episode too this week. Well, Smitty, I appreciate you coming on. Do you want to drop all your podcasts and how anybody reaches out to you?
So the network is available anywhere podcasts are found. So Spotify, iTunes, all that good stuff as the Herpeticulture Network. That's where all the episodes get uploaded to. We have Snakes and Stogies, the Herpeticulture Podcast, Flippin' Tin, Arachnerds, Corn Stars, King Snake Chronicles. It's been a while since both of those have been out, but I think Chris has been wanting to make some happen. So hopefully that comes to fruition. You can find me on Instagram either at the Herpetoculture Network, at Palmetto Coast Exotics, or at Fulvius Apparel. I'm not hard to find at all. I was always worried about the government watching everything they're doing, and I'm like, they already know everything about me they need to know. They love me because I'm sure I make their job so much better.
China knows everything.
That's right.
There you go.
Russia knows everything.
All right, and Michael, I know it's Michael Gillian. It's your name on Facebook, and you said you have an Instagram account. What is it? Your name as well on Instagram?
Yeah, just my name, _ between Michael and Gillen.
There you go, Michael _ Gillen. And why the _ at Instagram. And for Reptile Rejects, guys, you can follow us everywhere. If you're listening to it on YouTube right now, please click the little subscribe button, put a like on there. Same thing with all those little platforms as well for the podcast, whether it be Spotify or Amazon or, I don't know, Apple Music. Subscribe, press the little like, put a review. It helps. For myself, Dominic Calvino on Facebook, or Dom's Reptiles on Instagram. And everybody, thank you. Let us know how you like it, doing live. It's something we're contemplating, thinking of doing it every day live on every Sunday. We always release it 1 week later, but if you watch it live, you get it right ahead. If people like it, we'll keep doing it. If not, we'll go back to pre-recording 1 week ahead, but I think it's working. So everybody, thank you. Have a good night. And thanks, Smitty. Appreciate it. That was a lot of fun, man.
Thanks, Justin.
Good night.